Hello and good evening to all of you guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there in Twitch chat. Welcome to week 4 of regular season play here in Style Season 13. Tonight's best of 3 will feature UW Stout, currently rank 13, going up against MG Dragonborn, currently rank 14. As you can see, my dear viewers, we should expect tonight's battle to be one that is extremely close. Unfortunately for the Dragonborn, on Sunday they did suffer a 0-2 defeat at the hands of IGE Black, who for the record is currently ranked number 8. And while their opponent tonight is a better matchup in terms of those power rankings, UW Stout does have some momentum as they are coming off a 2-1 victory over Chaotic Solar, rank 11, just last night. I'm sure the Dragonborn are going to be wanting to bounce back strong from their most recent outing, and we are here tonight to see if they can do it, or if Stout will continue their momentum and maintain their spot just ahead of the Dragonborn in those power rankings. My name is Chris Crewman Newman. Joining me tonight for the call is the Basket of Knives. How are you tonight, my friend? You excited for this one?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm excited, crewman. We are ready to go. We are ready for this best of 3 matchup here on Style. Happy to be here. Happy to be your co-caster on the day and excited for us to get into this first games draft and see what these two teams have to offer and show for us. Now that Worlds has ended for the day, y'all can come here and watch some Style Esports.
Absolutely. While we are waiting to get into that drafting phase, do you have any thoughts on the way that first quarterfinal played out there, Knives? Pretty much to
Um,
chalk, I think.
yeah, I'd say to chalk. It's hard to really compete against a team like JDG if you are Rogue. I mean, they definitely put up a valiant effort, but it's a David versus Goliath matchup, even if you are the number 1 seed out of Europe. I'm just excited, honestly, for tomorrow's matchup, as I think most people are. T1 versus RNG. I'm currently rocking my Faker jersey, as that is who
Oh,
I'm
very
rooting for.
nice.
And it looks like we are actually getting ourselves into draft. So let's get ourselves over into that. First ban so far is the Cho'Gath on the side of UW Stout. We'll see how this first phase kind of plays out between these two teams.
Yeah, Lulu going to be banned away from the other side here. Not necessarily the most meta of picks getting banned out so far. Seem to be more target bans towards these individual players. Although there's the Graves going to be hitting the bench for this one, and he has been seeing a good amount of play up there in competitive recently.
Yep, definitely do not want to leave him open. Very easy to jungle with, very quick to clear with, as well as having the easy access to the Emerald Glaive for that extra vision clear. The Blackout passive makes it very difficult. Following up so far with the Silas as the response from Dragonborn, and the Ashe as the final ban out of UW Stout. A fairly underrated AD carry that's kind of pretty far down the pool, but can have some good matchups and can just create a lot of good presence with her vision and crowd control.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like our bans are a little bit varied. They're pretty widely dispersed here in terms of the lanes that are being targeted, not really focusing one particular role or anything like that. And the Aatrox, of course, has been left open, so naturally that is going to be picked away. First pick here, B1 for University of Wisconsin.
Yep, Aatrox always the safest blind pick right now of the game. This is the pick or ban basically at all games of Worlds. If you did put Aatrox in as your crystal ball of highest presence, then you're probably right. And Caitlyn as the first pick makes kind of sense. They banned out Ashe and you banned out Misfortune. So basically your next 80 carry on the tier list of long-range marksmen that can be oppressive early is your Caitlyn. So probably looking to set up a strong bottom lane here on the side of Dragonborn. I would expect the Lux to be the next lock-in, and it is. So a Caitlyn Lux bot lane, which means they are playing around bottom side. They want push. So I'll be curious to see how UW Stout responds with their 2-3. I would expect they're going to try to match the bottom lane here, or maybe take away something like a jungler.
Yeah, I do predict the bot lane match. Nice prediction there on the Lux Knives. So things that I'm thinking for Stout here, Lucian still open. We do also have things like the Aphelios Ezreal actually going to be the pick here for Noshgren. Let's see if I can find some Ezreal stats for us. So this is second most played for this season for that UW AD carry. 40 games on the Ezreal, 60% win rate. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. The Ezreal Yuumi definitely playing the we're going to stand back, we're going to poke and survive into the later stages of the game. A very safe lane indeed, but likely will come at the cost of a lot of early levels. So that would likely also relinquish early dragon control. Syndra, the new Syndra, as
Yes,
the
sir.
final lock-in in first phase here for Dragonborn. And interestingly enough, right before the end of the first phase, they swapped out the Yuumi ban for Misfortune. So we will see
Yeah.
if that ends up biting Dragonborn in the butt, or if they ended up the Yuumi will not be too much of a problem in this game. Yuumi is always that late game threat. That's why she's been permanently banned at the World Championship. And if she's not, the team usually wins. You usually see it paired up with the Sivir, but Ezreal's a good safe option into the Caitlyn Lux. That's a pretty impressive lane. Hecarim and Maokai as the next two bans. So now you're starting to target out those junglers for both sides of these squads.
Yeah, it does make some sense as both junglers are yet to pick. So it's interesting to see if, especially from the side of Dragonborn, they seem pretty confident that their man Kubix is not going to get banned out here. They're not too worried about it. From Stout, Maokai, of course, is very much a flex pick these days. Could go into a number of different positions, but there goes the Viego, also going to get removed from that jungle pool. And then the Shen. So a little bit more focus on the top lane coming out from that second phase of bans from Stout. And I assume that is where that last pick, counter pick on red side is going to go into the hands of Nano in that top side. So I'm predicting a jungle lock in here, Knives.
Yeah, definitely they could do a jungle lock-in, but they also could just go with a top lane lock-in.
They could.
I'm expecting that they know that the Aatrox is
Good point.
90% going to go to top lane.
Yeah.
So top lane lock-in might actually be fine here, and then you end up going with the jungler. So Wukong as the pick on red 4 here. That can go either way. You've seen it played in jungle, you've seen it played in top lane. I think it's got a little bit more agency in top lane versus the Aatrox, has a bit more better dueling power, and leaves the potential for a jungle counter pick open for the side of MG Dragonborn.
Absolutely. They are, I think, still lacking a little bit of frontline. The Wukong is an interesting pick here, Knives, because it's a champion that's notoriously, his greatest strength is his team fighting, right? The ability to create so much chaos, having 2 charges on the ultimate, he can cause so much disruption in enemy backlines. But it does mean that I feel like there's not a ton of structure in these fights. Like the Wukong isn't necessarily, his strength isn't like standing in front of the carries and frontlining necessarily. Not to say that he can't peel for all of these carries on the side of Dragonborn, but I'll be interested to see what they round things out with, as that is going to be the Xin Zhao and the Kog'Maw mid locked in over here on blue side 4-5 for UW Stout.
Yeah, most like about a 99% chance at this point it's going to be the Wukong mid. It could be a weird world where you're doing Kog'Maw mid, where you could be doing Kog'Maw bottom, but I doubt it. You can go AP Kog'Maw mid or even on hit Kog'Maw, and it's pretty strong. Ornn as potentially the lock-in here. We will see. And it is Ornn. So Ornn being the red 5, the counter pick into the Aatrox with a Wukong jungle. They saw the Xin Zhao and they said, you know what, Wukong, we're going to take you into the jungle, have a good time dueling, and we're going to bring the ultimate meatball into the top lane to play weak side on the Ornn. The scaling will be there on their side, and we will see how things go.
The Ornn definitely does have the scaling, Knives, but he's up against the Yuumi. So that is quite the scaling battle, to be honest. And the fact that Yuumi also has a Kog'Maw makes me want to lean more in that direction if things do go very late here. But the Ornn, of course, not necessarily a pick for the lane matchup. He's not going to be doing a whole lot into the Aatrox up there, but he is going to be able to provide a lot of that front line, a lot of that safety for the Caitlyn Lux and the Syndra as we move in towards those team fights in the mid game, as we try and set up around these neutral objectives. Ornn, of course, is so good at setting up carries for success and creating that space in that neutral territory in the river.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, definitely if you're on the side of it, both these teams kind of like their compositions. But if you're on the side of MG Dragonborn, I think you're very happy with this draft here. You've got a great front to back team fight. You have some great ultimates to be able to disrupt with, and even just abilities in general. You've got You've got the Call the Forge God as well as the Cyclone out of the Ornn and the Wukong respectively, but you also have the Scatter the Weak from Syndra, creating the ability to disengage the Xin Zhao and the Aatrox that want to dive in on you, which gives the space for your Lux and Caitlyn to be able to hit them from a mile away, while your Wukong and your Ornn are just getting into the back line to annihilate the Kog'Maw and annihilate the Ezreal.
Yeah, definitely. And if we take a look over here at the team fight for the other side for Washington Stout, they do have the double 80 carry composition. You mentioned it briefly earlier, but I do think we can expect the Kog'Maw to be building magic damage this game, given the fact that he is the only potential magic damage source over here on the blue side, and going all AD against Ornn Wukong would obviously be something that they would not want to do. So I think that is all making some sense. And then the Xin Zhao, of course, is another champion that is pretty good at creating that space in fights and trying to buy time for his carries to fire on enemy frontliners, or if he's, able to get into that backline. Kog'Maw, Ezreal, they have the range. If Xin Zhao can find like a, flash Q3 knockup or something like this, we can be set up in that way to win fights in that way as well. But what do you really think about the team fighting specifically as these two comps, get ready to face off?
So the way that the team fights are going to work between these two squads is UW Stout. They want to get set up early. They want to have vision control and be able to utilize the poke from the Ezreal, the Yuumi, and the Kog'Maw to slowly whittle down their opponent, and then have Aatrox and Xin Zhao play the flanks. Now, on the side of Dragonborn, they are playing pretty well standard a front-to-back team fight comp, and that's where vision control is going to be one of the... Vision control and proper rotations are going to be the two biggest things when it comes down to fighting around objectives for these squads. Whichever squad can get their flag planted first, control the vision, and control whatever choke points they want to come through, they're going to be the ones that have the best opportunity to win those fights. So if you're on the side of UW Stout, you want to make sure that you've wiped out enemy vision so they cannot see if you are getting a flank off with the Aatrox or the Xin Zhao, while getting a ton of poke damage out of the Ezreal, the Yuumi, and the AP Kog'Maw. That ultimate does so much damage if you're playing the AP side. And then for Dragonborn, it's just, you want to get them into a choke point. Any spot where there's an objective, you want them to have to conga line into you, because you'll just run right at them and say, check, we'll beat you.
Yeah, absolutely, Knives. While these two compositions do feel like they kind of want to go about it in slightly different ways, their overall goals do seem to be very similar across both sides, wanting to set up those team fights, put themselves in a position to control choke points and control space, and allow their carries to get out that long-range DPS. So with all that in mind, Knives, now that we have these drafts completed, do you think either one of these squads won champion select for game one? Do you have a prediction on which composition you think is going to function a little bit better? Or do you think it's really just going to come all down to gameplay here?
I would say if I'm putting my money on something, I'm going to go with MG Dragonborn's composition. To me, it feels like a much easier to execute composition. They have larger amounts of power in two of their three lanes earlier, which gives them agency. So bottom lane and mid lane are going to end up winning out earlier. So as long as they don't lose either at the skill check level or from a gank out of JZ, then those two sides of the map will be theirs, which will allow them to get early dragons. Now, early dragons will allow them to try to push more towards a soul win condition. And with the Ornn playing weak side top lane, who will inevitably scale, if you're winning on two of your three lanes, which are supposed to be strong side, while getting dragon stats, then you kind of will inevitably end up having the better scaling composition off of Ornn eventually scaling into it as well.
All right, everyone. My co-caster's throwing his weight behind the malicious gaming Dragonborn composition here for game number one. See if they can do it from red side. We'll be right back with Style Esports Week 4 right after this short break. All right, Style fans, welcome to Summoner's Rift for Game 1 of the night between University of Wisconsin Stout and Malicious Gaming Dragonborn. We have the Wisconsinites on the blue side for Game 1 and the Dragonborn taking up positions on the red. And we have a very conservative opening to start things off here, Knives. Just a couple of wards dropped up there in the top side river, nothing much else to discuss.
Yep, definitely these squads paying each other their respect and not wanting to throw away their potential game one drafts. So easily a couple wards placed down, but just standard 5 point. And clearly the team's wanting to play towards their win conditions. You got Wukong starting on his red side, so he'll be going down in his jungle pathing, while Xin Zhao, Jay-Z is starting on his bottom side, so his red side as well. So mere jungle pathings, but going in opposite directions here.
Definitely the case. Yeah, going to be clearing towards those opposite sides. Does mean that Jay-Z on the Xin Zhao is going to potentially be able to impact that top lane. Ornn, generally pretty safe, but if he gets traded on level 1 here, that's a Q3 landing for Travis. Some decent damage. Chunks Ornn out for a couple of hundred. See if anything comes of that one. We do have Grasp for Nano on the Ornn, so going to be looking to play reasonably far forward in this lane to try and get off those Grasp procs off on the Aatrox. But the key, of course, is going to be if he can do that without putting himself in too much danger.
Yeah, definitely wants to try to play the lane as safe as possible to mitigate losses. That is the goal if you're playing anything on a weak side, is how can I play as risk averse as possible while also sacrificing the least amount out of that. So probably going to have to sacrifice some CS and some lane pressure, but eventually the wave will crash in, and so then Nano will be able to pick that up. And kind of the same thing on the bottom side mirrored. So you've got Ezreal and Yuumi wanting to play a little bit safer because you've got a Caitlyn and a Lux that just want to push the lane and poke you out early and just are so oppressive at these early stages of the game.
Yeah, but kind of a similar story, a mirrored story, as you're just saying, okay, Nano, I think he's fine for now. Still pretty healthy on the Ornn for the time being, but is getting chunked out a little bit here. But similar story on the bottom side. Xin Zhao, extremely potent early ganking jungler. So while Caitlyn, Lux are extremely effective at pushing in the wave, as you can see, already getting some damage down on that tier 1 tower, they do have to be careful. If Jay-Z wants to make his way down towards this bottom lane, they could potentially be in danger, but it's their own jungler that's on this side of the map right now. So they're just going to be continuing to push in this wave for the time being. It is lethal tempo on the Caitlyn, interestingly. I'm not sure if I've seen too much of that. Do you have any thoughts on the lethal tempo Caitlyn, Knives?
Yes, as a Resident 80 carry main here, I very much enjoy lethal tempo, especially into compositions where you have the capacity to be able to kite, it giving you the extra attack speed ramping up as well as the extra range. If you land them in a bind, if you get them in a trap, you can get 2 or 3 autos off before they really get moving. And then once you get that extra range on the 6th auto, then it's just lights out. It's very effective on champions like Caitlyn, Ashe, and Xayah, but it is definitely a good option for Caitlyn. You can also do things like fleet or press the attack, but lethal tempo kind of seems to be a lot of the flavor of the month.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, we know that the range is one of Caitlyn's greatest strengths, so just trying to capitalize on that even further with the rune choice there as Bag of Almonds could definitely work out well for him, but still pretty even in CS down here so far. Yuumi making sure that Ezreal stays nice and topped off in this lane, so he's able to continue farming pretty comfortably. We are seeing Kog'Maw get the push in mid lane. Looks like Dewey's going to go for a little bit of a reset.
Yeah, definitely so far so good, even-wise, but bottom lane here for Dragonborn will definitely be able to get all this wave that's kind of been stacking up against them, so should be able to keep this thing fairly even, as long as they can collect everything under the tower. So not a lot of action going on right now. I kind of expected maybe there being a bit of a Wukong gank early, but they were unfortunately not able to get the wave to bounce back towards them until after he had already started to path back up.
Definitely the case. Both junglers have been pretty quiet so far in this one. Not really able to find too much. That was a light binding connecting onto the cat. Nothing will come of it, though. Couldn't quite get the trap down in time.
But as you can see, out of this bottom side pressure, the early Hex Dragon, 5 minutes and 30 seconds, this thing's getting started up. And you're seeing recalls from the side of UW and nothing that they can really do about it. But we do have Jay-Z looking up to make some noise in the top lane here.
Yeah, see what he can do. He doesn't have knowledge that the dragon is being taken quite yet. As soon as he knows that Kubix is on this bottom side of the map, he could potentially feel bold enough to go for something. But look at how defensively Nano is playing up there on the orange, warding out in the tribe rush there. Is just playing extremely safely, not really putting himself in any danger up here whatsoever. And it's just going to be that first neutral of the game secured for MG Dragonborn.
Yeah, a great heads-up play from the entire side of the MG squad. Nano especially, recognizing that all of his squad is pushing up and they're on the bottom side for an objective. There's likely one spot the Xin Zhao is at, and it's the top side of the map. So I'm going to back up, I'm going to place a ward down, and lo and behold, hey, ward saved lives, and it ends up saving Nano's life here. And we're actually going right into an early lane swap. They don't even know. UW Stout is none the wiser, and this Aatrox is going to be going, wait a second, I was fighting a ram, not two e-girls. So what the hell?
Oh, man, yeah, it is going to be a rude surprise for the Darken up there for sure. And this is so five-head, honestly. I love this Knives because they're lane swapping for the Herald, right? Because it's spawning in just a minute. It's the next neutral objective. There's no reason to have your strong pushing lane on the bot side of the map right now when there's nothing to play for. So just send your Ram down there, get the push in the top lane, set yourself up for the next neutral.
Oh, absolutely. And they're both playing weak side, and your weak side has the teleport. So worst case scenario, Orange just going to go ahead and say, all right, I'm just going to teleport to top side and help it out. And utilizing the strength of the Caitlyn and Lux, you've already got one plate down, and likely a second plate here before they end up backing up because that stacking wave worked so well for them.
Oh, yeah. So much money just picked up for Caitlyn and Lux, and that's exactly where Aatrox does not want to be, right? He wants to be the lane bully as well. He wants to be pressing forward, trying to get some damage on the tower himself, and now he's facing a 1v3 tower dive. Kubix has the Cyclone. He's going to use the Trickster to get back out from underneath the tower, and it's a clean dive from the Dragonborn. First blood for the Caitlyn.
Oh, man, such a perfect dive. The trap setup, the wave stacking. Great job from being able to juggle the aggro. Kubix does a great job of getting around and getting the gank in, as well as Bag of Almonds and Goat Milk Yum Yum, being able to get all that poke off and landing all those critical abilities. And Nano's still just chilling down here on the weak side, just none the wiser, having a good time. They're looking for the dive, though.
They're going to throw out the Lost Chapter. They have the Ornn where they want him underneath the tower, but Nosh Krennic to take 2 tower shots. That was almost just a dead Ezreal right there. Really close call. He is going to survive. And he did get the flash off the Ornn. The True Shot Barrage does get the kill in the end. Ezreal, I believe, just ticking over to level 6 off of that minion wave. Able to snipe out the top laner. A nice shot from him. Gets UW Stout on the board. But look at this. Top lane is gone. They're just going to take the first turret at 9 minutes into the game. And Caitlyn is already on her way to the Nexus. Look at this. Travis is trying to defend the topside jungle, but I really don't think that's going to be possible, at least in the final spark. Bag of Almonds gets number 2. They're going to get the charge of the Herald into the tier 2 tower here. It's only the Loot Pinata that's here to defend. That's 2 kills and 2 turrets for Bag of Almonds. He's so fed now on the Caitlyn.
Yep, they are playing to their win condition here. Crewman, they had a plan. They said, Caitlyn, Lux, we are funneling gold into you, and we are going to get early objectives. What have they done? They've gotten the early objectives. They funneled the gold into Caitlyn. She's already sitting on a Gale Force here at 9 minutes 45 seconds. And guess what? What did it cost them? 1 plate bottom and 1 dead Ornn. That's it. So they are so far ahead right now. A nice solid almost 3,000 gold lead at 10 minutes is absurd. And Dragon is coming up here in 50 seconds. The Ocean Dragon here is Dragon number 2, and you're already seeing the setup from Dragonborn.
Okay. Twitch chat was just saying that we are unfortunately a little bit desynced here, Knives. So I did just try skipping ahead a few seconds for myself. I'm at 10:30 right now. So Twitch chat, please keep us updated let us know if I'm a little bit more in sync now, if we're a little bit more in sync with the game. Knives, do you want me to count a little bit to try and resync ourselves here?
Yep, let's go ahead. Let's get that count going here. I'm sitting at 20 seconds before the dragon.
Okay, yeah, I am at 12 seconds before right now. It's 49, 50 on the clock right now. 51, 52.
I'm sitting at 57, 58,
All right.
59,
So we're
and
about in
11
sync
minutes.
here again. That's perfect. All right, so we are once again in sync. Twitch chat, please keep us updated if that is a little bit better there on the desyncing issue. But we are watching this dragon get taken down right now. True Shot Barrage over the top. Noshkran going to get a little bit of gold there from the first strike. But I think that's about all he's going to get as another neutral goes the way of Malicious Gaming.
Yep, and kind of still lucky on the side of Goat Milk Yum Yum. Barely survives the True Shot Barrage, but at the end of the day, they do walk away with Dragon number 2, setting ourselves up here now for a Mountain Soul map. You definitely, if you are UW Stout, do not want Dragonborn to get this soul. If you let them get this soul, your poke is not going to mean anything. So they definitely want to play for these next couple dragons here. Maybe for the Rift Herald that's also popping up here in 2.5. But for now, it is all MG Dragonborn.
Yeah, they are playing so well around this bot lane right now. Caitlyn is currently about 1,000 gold ahead of the Ezreal individually. So that is, the majority of the gold lead that is currently held by the squad here. We are seeing a slight gold advantage, of course, for the Aatrox up there over the Ornn as well, but Nano's really not worried about that too much. Travis trying to get in here to get another turret plate for himself, but not able to do it. Has to dodge away from that brittle proc that was being threatened from the Ornn. Both junglers on the top side of the map right now.
Yeah, and really right now it is just kind of for both squads, it's a little bit of a waiting game. It's next objectives. It's, you got about 75 seconds left on power plate, so I'm expecting 1 or 2 more plates to go down here on this bottom side of the map, but otherwise it's just waiting the little bit of time you've got left between this next Rift Herald. I'm expecting bottom lane to rotate up for that, or this dragon here in about 3 minutes. So I'm not expecting a ton of action here until about 30 seconds to right on the timer for that second Rift Herald.
Yeah, things do seem to have slowed down a little bit while we wait for those objectives, as you were just saying, Knives. Bag of Almonds, of course, is going to continue to push this wave in because he can do that, so he will. But as you can see, they're not really willing to step forward to auto-attack the turret anymore at the moment. Maybe just not feeling that they had quite enough vision in order to do so safely. They do have a couple of wards in the river there, but their jungler, of course, not in the area, so they don't want to be throwing away this nice big lead that they've built up for themselves. So they are going to play it nice and safe until we do have that next dragon on the map, I have to imagine.
Yep, they are playing a little bit safe, which if you are a UW Stout fan here, that's fantastic. That's at this point what you want. You want this squad to slow down the game. So if you're ever in the backseat of a game, what you usually want to have happen is the game to slow down. And into a Caitlyn Lux lane, if you are losing the lane, it's just, all right, just don't give them any more. Don't give them any more kills. Don't really give them any more tower plates. Now, this tower is going to go down, but plates are already gone. So you're not getting as much value. You lost about 300 gold off of that tower by not being able to by preventing them from taking those 2 plates, which still is helping you slow down the game and scale up. The Ezreal is going to scale into the Muramana. You're seeing mythics on the side of both Travis and Jay-Z, and I'm assuming Kog'Maw is very, very close to getting to his mythic here of his Ludens. So definitely some good strong points if you are a UW Stout fan. Do not lose hope, but they still have a very high mountain to climb here.
They are scaling. They have the cat. They have the Kog'Maw. Aatrox, theoretically, can get to a point later on where he's very strong in the side lane. But the Ornn will also get to a point where he is going to be very immovable in the side lane. So Travis does feel like he's a little bit on the clock here. Not going to find the knock up there is Nano, charging forward, but pretty low on mana, so not willing to go for an all-in or anything like that. We are on to the Rift Herald, as that's going to be Jay-Z stunned up by the Scout of the Week, and the Cyclone goes in, and he just gets absolutely obliterated. Herald is going to be picked up as well, and Malicious Gaming just reading him so well here. It's a little bit greedy, I suppose, from Jay-Z to try and pick up that objective by his lonesome, and he is heavily punished for it.
Yeah, absolute disaster. Just was trying to go for that sneaky Rift Herald, but didn't have the wave set up mid, didn't have any of his carries rotating over to help protect him or help take down that Rift Herald, and it cost them that second Rift Herald, and Dragon is coming up in 15 seconds. However, you're seeing the poke start to come through now. You are seeing these much lower champions, and Syndra's in trouble.
Yumi combo, Prism having to run for the hills here. Syndra flash away, true shot barrage. Can't quite finish off at the mid laner. Nano now called. The Forge God gets the knock up onto the Kog'Maw. Final spark over the top, and he's down. Dewey is down, and the Cat soon to follow ambush. Taken out by the Almond Bag. And now it's just up to Noshkren. The Ezreal is going to shift aggressively over the wall, maybe. Could look for the kill here. Wukong extremely low. Also had to flash away there. Did Kubix. Nano, though, still pretty healthy on the Ornn. Taking a couple of Mystic shots here, but should still be able to do a decent amount of front line. They have a 5v3 on the map now in favor of MG. They might be able to move towards the objective, but Jay-Z on the Xin Zhao is extremely healthy, could potentially pose a threat or go for a steal.
Looks like they're probably just gonna have to concede this Dragon. I don't see a world where they get in. You're seeing Jay-Z on his Krugs, so that is gonna be sole point going over to MG Dragonborn. And just, again, bad to worse. You almost got the Syndra picked off, and then the Nano teleports in and holds the ultimate charge to make sure that he basically is predicting Cog's gonna flash behind me. I'm gonna knock him up. Knocks him up, knocks him into the wall, and knocks him down. Such a massive balloon lead now. Nearly 5,000 gold here on the side of MG Dragonborn, making it so much more difficult in these next 5 minutes to see if UW Stout can mount a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Mountain Soul Point already, but Knives, it's not just any Mountain Soul Point. It's Mountain Soul Point for Ornn. If he gets the Mountain Soul, he is actually just unkillable. So, really, UW Stout very much on the clock now. They're going to need to find some kind of control here in this game very, very soon, where it's going to quickly slip out of their hands entirely.
Yeah, Mountain Soul Point versus a poke comp is very, very beneficial for a poke comp and a near death sentence. A near death sentence for any team that is rocking a poke comp. So it's going to make things difficult. Bag Almonds did pick up the rapid fire cannon second. That's not, in my opinion, a very preferred item on AD carries. However, situationally, it can work. And seeing how you are dealing with a lot of poke and a lot of range off of the Kog'Maw and the Ezreal, it makes sense here. I would have preferred to see the Kraken Slayer out of Caitlyn, but opts to go for the Gale Force instead. So again, trying to play more of the safe side of wants the mobility, wants to be able to maybe dodge out from the Aatrox chains or the Xin Zhao, but also gives her a little bit of that execute damage if she starts to poke down a squishy target.
Yeah, and it does kind of tie back to our conversation earlier that I'm going to have to get back to, as we do have the Rift Herald charging into mid lane. So this is going to be the third and final Tier 1 tower of UW Stout. Gets taken down. Kubix dashing forward with a Nimbus Strike. Wants to get off the second charge here. Don't think they're going to be able to get it, though, as Shelly does get taken out. But she did her job. Mission accomplished there for the Big Purple Crab as the last Tier 1 defense of Wisconsin was destroyed. And I was just about to say, our conversation earlier about Caitlyn playing into that range advantage with the rune choice of the lethal tempo. I feel like a little bit of a parallel here with the rapid fire cannon, just really allowing her to try and potentially match that huge range that the Ezreal and the Kog'Maw do possess, so that she can potentially stay safe while still trying to get out that damage.
Oh, absolutely. And another little thing with this, since we're kind of at a bit of a lull state of the game, potentially, we'll see if anything happens up top. Looks like there's not going to be anything happening. Is that the rapid fire cannon is nice as well because it's has the opportunity to prevent Ezreal from getting first strike damage. So if you hit Ezreal first with an auto with anything, so that empowered auto where you got that range, Kog'Maw might be in trouble. Nothing's going on there. But if you hit Ezreal with that empowered auto, it's going to knock the first strike off, slowing down his capacity to get extra gold off his passive, stifling that further.
Oh, shit. Yeah, definitely. And I like the Ezreal. He does have his 2-item spike. So Noshkren is actually at a very powerful point in the game right now. He hit his spike. He's very strong. He has a lot of poke damage. Kog'Maw as well, closing in on that 2-item mark, but he is going to have to look for it after he respawns as Prism finds the solo kill in bot lane. You know, Travis also in some trouble up here. You can already see the Ornn stacking up the armor, has the Warden's Mail on top of his mythic item, and he doesn't even have the Mountain Soul yet, man. He's already not taking any damage.
Yep, unfortunately, Kog'Maw may have been approaching the second item, but unfortunately, Dewey, all he was approaching was a Death Balls from Syndra. That unleashed power coming in huge. Level 14 on the Syndra, and looking to be able to even take down half-health Jay-Z with 2 abilities here.
Well, reworked Syndra seems a bit strong, no?
Yeah, I mean, and also the other thing, too, is in competition, you don't actually see Syndra very often. So there's not a ton of people that actually play her in comp. So you're not even necessarily used to it. At the same time, to be fair, you don't see a lot of Kog'Maw mid in competition either. So,
oh, Kubix has the Trickster to get himself away. That's another scatter connecting. Dewey chunked down to half health again. He does have the cat strapped to his back, so he's going to get a little bit of heals there. And Wukong is also pretty low here on the Wukong, forcing out the Cyclone there pretty early. A triple scatter from Prism. Gets so much CC down, and here comes Nano teleporting in. He's got the Call of the Forge God. He's looking for the kill onto the Kog'Maw. Flashing forward on the Ornn. He can't quite find it. Prism, though, flashing in, gets another massive scatter. Sets up his team so beautifully, and that's going to be 2 quick kills going over 8-1 now on the scoreboard. The 5,000 gold lead, and Mountain Soul is imminent.
they're just slapping them with their wallets. Now, you saw the power of UW's composition. You saw the poke. You saw how they could whittle down some of these carries and even some of the bruisers. But unfortunately, don't have the damage to be able to finish any of them off. And it's going to cost them Mountain Soul. It may very well cost them their lives and will likely cost them this game.
He's dead. He's gone. Ah, the cat tanks the bullet. Ambush with the sacrifice there. Keeps Noshkren alive. Allows the Ezreal to keep farming. But still, that's 3 kills in the end that did go over. Plus that Mountain Soul. This is feeling really insurmountable at this point. I think if you're the side of Malicious Game Dragonborn, you just walk straight over to the Baron here, pick that one up, and you start pushing it towards the enemy base.
Oh, yeah, they are definitely in a very strong position. You're already seeing Death Cap as item 2 for the side of Prism. You've got an Infinity Edge on the side of Bag of Almonds. He is a massive Bag of Almonds, and if I didn't know any better, I would say everyone on the side of UW squad is deathly allergic to nuts, because all they are doing is they are catching death after death at the hands of the Bag of Almonds.
Yeah, it does seem to be a very severe allergy, and you know, they were not able to get to those EpiPens in time, or at least they haven't yet. Jay-Z, though, waiting in the bush. Gonna find Kubix doing a little face checking. Don't think it matters too much, though. Monkey still has the Warrior Trickster. He's gonna walk his way out of that one. And control over the river very much held by the side of Dragonborn. We're gonna go ahead and clear out that control ward. You can see the desperation from U Wisconsin trying to maintain some control here in the river, but it's a 5v4 right now. Syndra's just pushing in the bot lane all by herself, getting free gold. Just picked up a tier 2 tower. That is so much additional gold just funneled straight into the Syndra. Prism has got to be closing in on level 16. And once he finishes that 3rd item, he is just going to be one-shotting everybody.
Yep, and they try to get the play on the backside by getting this mid tower, but just not enough of a wave, not enough damage to be able to poke them down.
You know? Yeah, it's the side with the Yuumi, you know, that that doesn't have the sustain that they need, you know, and it's just the Mountain Soul really seems like it's doing so much work at this point. We discussed it earlier, you know, before it was even secured for the side of Dragonborn, that the Kog'Maw Ezreal damage just isn't doing enough for them at this point.
No, at this point, the only way that they kind of win it is they really just need to get a lot of consistent poke down onto the Dragonborn squad, and then just you need to get a pick. You need to get a flash ult from Zin's out and knock one of the carries into your Aatrox. It looks like they might just be caught out here.
Over the top, Kubik's going in, finds the Cyclone onto the jungler. Jay-Z is looking like he's going to get taken down first. Kubik's also extremely low, but Prism makes his way into the fight and absolutely zeroes out the enemy mid laner. Travis next to fall here. Wukong still alive. Prism misses the scat of the week that time, but he really didn't need it. It's another 3 for nothing, and it's only a matter of time, I think, before MGD close this one out.
Yep, and MGD, they see the blood in the water, they go for it, and now they're going to reap their reward going for that Baron, getting that extra buff that they need to help deal with actually the very good wave clear that UW Stout has on their side. But once they get this Baron buff, it's going to be very difficult to be able to push those things out. True Shot Barrage scouts it out, but is unfortunately not able to land the lucky shot. Did not land true, but they might actually maybe they'll get mid tower out of it. Perhaps they'll get something small in the back end.
A little bit of objective bounty action here, potentially, for UW Stout. Noshkren moving forward.
It might be greedy. It might be greedy.
Oh, it's going to be close. He needs a few more auto attacks here. Can he find it? Oh, Gold Milk is here. The scatter connects. He does get the tower, but he's forced to flash away, and he still gets hit by the light binding, and that is going to be lights out for the UWAD carry. Ambush now trying to scamper away, but he's not going to be able to do it. It's a bullet to the back of the head as Back of Almonds picks up number 6.
Man, effectively an even trade there. I think Nano's going to get himself out of here, but he's in for a fight now.
He may go down, but it's going to take a long time, and the base will likely fall before he does. Searing Charge wave flashes over the wall. It's flash fall over both the top and jungle of UW Stout. They really just desperately want to get one more kill for themselves before the game ends. They will be able to do so. They take out the enemy top laner, but Dewey all by his lonesome here in the base, forced to flash into his own fountain. The Nexus towers are getting obliterated. Kubix, though, very low here, does get taken out there by the turret aggro, plus the Ezreal damage coming over the top there. So a couple of kills picked up now for the side of UW Stout, and MGD, maybe a little bit ahead of themselves, are not quite able to end the game.
Yeah, they definitely went for the attempt. Unfortunately, they lost the backdoor bonus because the only thing left was the empowered cannon minion. So outside of that tower range, gave them no backdoor bonus to be able to annihilate that final Nexus tower, and gives the tiniest sliver of breathing room for UW Stout because Elder is coming up in 39 seconds. They forced MG Dragon to reset. So now they get the chance to clear out some of this vision and make a last desperation miracle play here.
Yeah, they're going to try. I mean, that's all they can do. They can give it their best shot. Dewey is going to be pretty close to level 16 here on the Kog'Maw. Dodges away from the final spark there, but it's going to be off cooldown in about 5 seconds. Ace in the hole comes out. Jay-Z a little bit late on the Crescent Guard there. Still has it for another moment, and the unleashed power there is immune. So a couple of ultimates burned. Jay-Z still alive. Elder Dragon spawning now onto the Rift. Oh, here comes Kubix, though, looking for the big flank. Travis going to spread his wings, try and walk his way out of this one. True Shot Barrage over the top is decent damage, but the Aatrox has the blinking health bar there, barely clinging to life. Prism off on the side. Maybe going to get caught out a little bit here, but here comes Kubix with a big wombo. Ambush going to get knocked up into the air. He cannot remount, and it's a complete annihilation. It's a teleport into the base. And it's the end of game number 1 in about 30 minutes. Malicious Gaming Dragonborn take the first Nexus.
Yep, it's probably going to be the end here unless there's some miracle play. Kog'Maw is still alive. Could potentially poke some of this stuff down. It's going to be incredibly difficult. Likely the end. They got the catch. You see the teleporting coming in from Syndra. This game is over. Game 1 is going to go to the side of MG Dragonborn. Absolutely annihilating UW Stout with a clinic in macro and strong and weak side play.
Yeah, absolutely right there, Knives. I think we really do need to emphasize, this was not bad play from UW Stout. They played fine. This was exceptional play from Dragonborn. They played this composition nearly flawlessly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the difference was them as individuals, them as players. They in their lanes, they did fine. They were trading properly. They were playing to their advantages properly in the microcosm of their lanes. Once it came to playing the map, how you play the map, how you rotate, how you focus on your strong side objectives, it was all MG Dragonborn. They had the foresight, they had the playbook down, and they had UW Stout's number from start to finish on how to play that map.
I just keep thinking about that lane swap at like 6.5 minutes where Caitlyn
Chef's
got
kiss.
2 towers and the Herald. Oh my god. And Prism just finding solo kills off in the side lane on the reworked Syndra there, just absolutely one-shotting people. Really, really well done from both sides. Do you want to give out a player of the game award here? Who do you think was there an MVP for game number one here on the side of the Dragonborn?
Ooh,
Tough
MVP.
call.
Um, I will say I actually am gonna go with I think the MVP is um Lux on Goat Milk Yum Yum.
Okay.
1017 got very close to dying several times, but managed to stay alive and provided so much poke
Oh
and
yeah.
so much spacing with the light bindings, with with all of her abilities to just help manage the space to make sure that Bag of Almonds stayed alive was excellent. So I think their bot lane as a whole, just again, they played their lane to near flawlessness, but Goat Milk Yum Yum was just able to really help make sure that Caitlyn had the capacity and the agency to hit all those early tower plates to really make a big impact early in the game and then just keep her safe and keep her alive and at an arm's length the entirety of mid and late game.
Absolutely, basket of knives. I love that shout out. Lux, right, is a champion that is fairly notoriously difficult to stay safe on. She does have decent range, but has no natural escapes. But Goat Milk Yum Yum, the positioning, excellent. The poke, the skill shots, all amazing. And really just exceptional performances across the board there in game number one for the Dragonborn. And over on the side of Wisconsin Stout, they're going to need to retool their approach pretty drastically here if they want game two to look any different.
Yep, I would expect they were probably going to go for something to try to either get some more agency in the bottom lane or at least negate some of the agency that they had. Either that or they're just going to really make sure that their mid and top side, maybe their jungle, could just play a stronger side and just really heavily index into that next game.
All
But
right.
we will see.
We shall see indeed. Don't go anywhere, folks. We will be back with the continuation of Style Week 4 right after this short break. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Style Esports. We are getting ready to jump into our Game 2 Champion Select. We are swapping sides here for this one. Dragonborn going to be moving over to blue, which does, of course, mean that University of Wisconsin is going to try and switch things up by moving over to red side. What do you make of this decision, Knives?
Definitely, they're probably looking to play more heavily into getting a counter pick for red side, as well as potentially a strong side in the bot lane. You saw how MG Dragonborn last game was able to utilize both the red 1-2 and the red 5 pick very effectively. So we'll see if UW Stout has a similar plan in mind, or just to see kind of what they'll be looking to do in general. You've got Lulu as the first ban coming out from MG Dragonborn, so definitely trying to index away from some of those hyper carries. A Cho'Gath again coming out from UW Stout, so they just do not want to see the nano on that pick, and then following it up so far with a Silas.
It's the exact same bans as game 1 so far for each side. See if UW Stout ban away the Graves here once again. Was their second ban. Gonna switch things up a little bit here potentially. Nope, it will be the Graves. The last couple of bans here from game 1 were Ash for Stout and Misfortune for Dragonborn. Okay, so a little bit more focused towards the top lane this time around, Knives. See if the Gragas that was briefly hovered there. No, it will be the Ash again. So Stout not really changing up their bans whatsoever. Last game, the Aatrox priority very high for Wisconsin. The Caitlyn is going to be given over here once again to the Almond Bag. We've already seen what he can do with it.
Yep, I mean at this point you kind of are assuming they're going to go Kate Lux, so you either have to pick the Lux or pick something that's going to counter. So they actually go Aatrox Viego. So they're picking effectively right now in order, assuming it's top lane and jungle here. So complete diversion from what they're originally doing. And that also provides opportunity in draft here. You are telling MG Dragonborn, here's our top and our jungle. Either match them on your 2-3, or we're going to start banning counters to it.
Yeah, okay. I'm predicting Lux Ornn here to be the lock-ins for the Dragonborn. I don't think they're worried about jungle bans. I think they want to secure the top lane matchup into the Aatrox. They want to secure the lane pairing with the Caitlyn. Not to say that there aren't other champions that can pair well with Caitlyn, because there definitely are. But Goat Milk just looked so exceptional on the Lux last game. I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer to just lock that one in again.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. At the same time, depending on the depth of his champion pool, I mean, you've got plenty of other wonderful picks that you could do with a Caitlyn to make it very strong. So they are actually they're going to match the jungle. So they're confident in their top and jungle matchup to even be willing to give away the Lux ban. You know, they can play the Nami, they can play the Karma, you can do Kate Morgana. There are plenty of picks left that are greater the number of bans that are remaining from UW Stout.
Ooh, that would be interesting. A little bit of a pivot here for Noshkren. Going to be pulling out the Aphelios here for game number 2. Let me see if I can find some Aphelios stats for us. Okay, Aphelios, 5th most played this season for Noshkren. 28 games. Again, pretty high win rate, 61%. Didn't necessarily help him last game on the Ezreal, but this is definitely going to be a little bit of a different look, and it'll be interesting to see how he does.
Yeah, definitely should be interesting to see how it does. It's not the best as a counter into Caitlyn.
You're trying to match the range, right? It seems like what he's trying to do.
Yeah, you're trying to match the range, like it can work, but Caitlyn just has the more consistency when it comes to the range matchup. So even if you look at, obviously solo queue win rate isn't everything, but in a lot of stuff with amateur, it kind of indexes decently well into it. You are looking at least according to Lowalytics, it's 56% win rate of Caitlyn versus Aphelios. So kind of has a pretty significant advantage of making it less than a 50-50 matchup if you're on the Aphelios side of it. So it should be interesting to see how they do it. They still ban out the Yuumi from MG Dragonborn, as well as the Zillion. So both those are just indexed into saying we are not going to let the Aphelios have these extra speed ups or heals or other enchantments to be able to perform well on.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of trying to ban away those hard scaling supports from the side of UW Stout. And of course, the Lux did get banned away there as well. And then, of course, as you already mentioned, the Syndra going to be denied from Prism. So we will be seeing him on something else this game. Also, both mid laners and both supports still yet to pick here. I imagine it will likely be, I don't know. What do you think UW is going to lock in here? Is it mid or support?
They should likely look to lock in support, as that's just going to
Okay.
be
It's the trendy
it
special.
gives you the capacity to do a true counter pick and not just playing half of it. So you're going to hedge the bet and say we're going to play again a good and solid bottom lane of Aphelios Soraka, and we'll see what you're going to pick mid, and we're going to try to just hard counter the mid lane. To then I would expect at that point a lot of jungle attention from Viego going into that mid lane.
It needs to be an AP carry, right? Because we're all physical damage so far on the side of Wisconsin. Sort of a very similar story over here for the Dragonborn as well. The Sona going to be paired alongside Caitlyn for Goat Milk here. So more of an enchanter as opposed to a mage. Going to be looking to possibly match some of the healing that can come out from the Soraka. And that's going to be a very safe blind pick for Prism. We're back to Syndra Oriana, huh? After all these years, Knives. We're back
As
to
all
Syndra
things
Oriana.
change, they all stay the same. You've got an MG Dragonborn composition of, again, front to back team fight, lots of big ultimates to lock people down, to lock people up, and to knock them down. And the Kali. So you are saying, I want to play an assassin. I want to 1v9 this game.
Wow.
The chips are down. You're 0-1. It's a best of 3. So thereby your back's against the wall. So it's nut up or shut up time. And it looks on the side of Dewey. He's saying, I'm picking a Kali.
Yeah, and if it's nut time, we've already seen how that goes. The almonds were extremely powerful last game. So, or maybe it'll be shut up time. Maybe Stout's going to be able to swing that in the other direction. They do have some supreme skirmishing power with, as you just mentioned, the Akali being locked in here on R5, paired up alongside the Viego. They're going to be winning a lot of those 2v2s, especially if they have any kind of vision advantage. But really, I'm a little bit. The one thing that I'm really worried about for Wisconsin Stout here is actually the top lane. Travis on the Aatrox again. This is the exact same lane matchup that we saw in the previous game, and we saw how well Nano played it through the early levels, not putting himself in any danger, and then just scaling up into a point, as we move towards those team fights, toward that mid game, scaling up into a point where he just was not able to be threatened whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, that's either at that point with being willing to pick the Aatrox, you're saying you're either confident enough in your pick and saying, last game, it was a mulligan. We're not going to talk about it. It was just, yeah, I played it wrong. I made a mistake, whatever, and I'm going to play it better. Or you just don't have another pick. There is always the world where it's just, it's more like, it's not that you're a one trick, but it's like, well, this is kind of all I got right now. This is the only thing I can think to play, so I'm just going to play it. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that Travis has an answer with being able to play the lane a little bit better and maybe get some more jungle attention from Viego. I do expect this Viego to play more around the mid-top side of the map with having an Aatrox and an Akali as the two main power points of your game. With, again, now your late game assurance is 200 years Viego, 200 years Philios with a Soraka in the bottom lane. So you want to try to index more towards your top side of the map right now because you're still in the same losing situation bottom side. Caitlyn Stone is still going to poke you down real hard. So just play to top side. Try to kill Ornn before he's 6. Kill Ornn before he's tanky. If you do that, then you have a chance to be able to make some plays, to get some early aggression going. And if you can get this team composition off the ground, you can definitely run the side of MG Dragonborn over. But you got to be able to get there. Last game, they didn't even get off the ground.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Knives. I understand the strategy. I think that can work in theory, but I just really feel like it's going to be easier said than done here. Nano played the last game so well that I just don't necessarily foresee him getting punished up there. But we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe Jay-Z on the Viego is going to have a little bit more explosiveness, going to be able to make something happen. Maybe Dewey roaming up really early from the mid lane there, just trying to punish, the Nano on a stacking wave, maybe trying to turn the tables from what we saw last game happen to Travis up there on that dive that ended up giving over first blood. But speaking of last game's first blood, I think I would like to briefly turn our attention now towards that bottom side. You did just briefly mention it that you do expect the Aphelios Soraka to be sort of losing that lane by default, at least. If without interference from any other team members there. But the Caitlyn Sona doesn't quite have the same lane bullying potential that the Caitlyn Lux does. While the Sona is going to allow the Caitlyn, is going to give her some sustain, give her a little bit of movement speed, going to allow her to, hang out in that lane pretty safely, potentially for longer than she otherwise would be able to. But it's also not necessarily, I think, quite as threatening, and especially with the Soraka here for ambush, it's a little bit of a different look than the Yumi, but I think it could go a little bit better for him. But do you expect bot lane to kind of play out in a similar manner to what we saw last game, or can we expect any kind of differences this time around?
Yeah, I'm expecting to play out fairly similar to last game. Obviously, Aphelios Soraka is going to still have more agency than an Ezreal Yumi, and also has the capacity to pick someone off, especially once you get things like your Gravitum gun. I mean, Sona is a very squishy champion, even more squishy than Lux. So, I mean, if you get a good pick, you actually do have some agency and some presence versus Ezreal Yumi, you really don't. So the gap is not as big as it was last game, but it's still a big gap and also just the skill wise, the skill gap from last game that was shown is massive. Now, again, maybe
So much momentum.
Maybe Noshkren is a much better Aphelios player and Ambush is a much better Soraka player than they are Ezreal Yumi players. That's perfectly fine. I can tell you right now, I'm a trash Ezreal player. So I'm not gonna tell you and say, hey, just because you can't play Ezreal doesn't mean that your Aphelios is gonna be crap. I mean, it could go either way, but it's still it's a tough pill for them to swallow because they got rocked so hard in that first game, and you're up against effectively the same composition. You have Caitlyn, and you've replaced Lux with Sona, so you're still getting poke off of the squishy mage. And you've replaced Syndra with Orianna. So you still have an ultimate that's just going to be a game-changing fight with a lot of damage on top of a Wukong and an Ornn. So you still have that very strong front-to-back team fight that you can play with. And you're playing still much higher skill champions or higher barrier of execution champions on the side of UW Wisconsin, of a UW Stout. So, I mean, Akali, higher barrier of execution. Aphelios Soraka, still higher barriers of execution than what their opposition is. So we'll see what can happen here. Also, just that way everyone knows, the icons have not been swapped on what was listed out here. It is MG Dragonborn on the left side, on the blue side, and UW Stout on the red side. But
call out their knives.
We're gonna see what we can have here coming up into this this second game, this series deciding game.
That's
potentially
right. We finished
for
up the spectator delay.
this game.
We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, we are back. I sincerely apologize for the technical difficulties. My bad, guys. But we are into the game now for game number 2. And we do still have 0-0 on the board. So thankfully, we did not miss too terribly much. Knives, give us a quick rundown. What is jumping out to you here about this current game state in the early game?
So far, what we're seeing in the game state is we're actually seeing UW Stout coming out with CS leads in all of their lanes currently. Now they are small CS leads, but they are still CS leads. So we're happy about those. We take those if you're a UW Stout fan. But yeah, so far not a ton of action going on. I'm expecting there to be a dragon coming up here soon, potentially from the side of UW Stout, but we shall see. It looks like they've got the inside track, and Tubix is nowhere to be seen on this bottom side of the map. So an early dragon going over to the side of UW Stout, with it being that first, that ocean dragon, which actually is still very nice. Doesn't affect a ton now, but later in the game, percentage healing scales.
Definitely the case. And, denying that from the side of Dragonborn after the very quick dragon stacking that we saw from last game is pretty big, I think. So a significantly better start this time around for Stout.
Yeah, definitely a better start off for them, keeping them on the front foot. You're seeing some of the first backs come in here for the bottom lane of Dragonborn, but actually still no back from the Aphelios. So Noshgren is really trying to get as much gold as possible before making that first back. You're already seeing the ult come out of Prism to help poke Dewey down, but not a ton of damage there. A good heads up roam from Goat Milk, saying, I don't need to be in lane right now, so I'm just going to roam to mid and help get this lane to be in a better state to push out, so the Orianna can back.
Absolutely. You can see Prism sitting on nothing left in the mana bar there, just needs to get back to the fountain so he can replenish that resource. And, while I am not an Orianna player myself, my understanding is that the Shockwave is just generally preferred to be on cooldown rather than not. You just want to kind of look for opportunities to use that as much as possible. I don't know if you're much of an Orianna player over there, Knives.
I play her a ton. She is a fun mid laner, though, in my opinion, to play as a non-mid laner.
Hang on a second. Top lane, we got something happening here. That's Ornn flashing away. Nano maybe in some trouble here. Forge God has been called. He's flashing away. He didn't get the R2 knockup, and it's going to be first blood. Travis gets his revenge under the tower.
And you're seeing how Travis probably ideally wanted to play this lane on the island, getting to play his lane, throwing that Darkened Blade down, and a massive lead, but the teleport's going to just come right back in for the Nano, and he's only down, again, a kill and about 5-6 CS, a little bit of damage on the back almost, but he should be fine. But they're still indexing for the dive, but Goat Milk is coming up to support Nano and making sure that he's not going to be in a bad position.
The Sona roam all the way up to the top side there. They didn't rotate the entire bot lane this time around, only the support. For when that Herald is spawning, and it looks like they're not really going to be making any super aggressive moves towards it. It's just Goat Milk getting down some vision control in the river right now. We do see those double pink wards for the side of Dragonborn in that topside river, so clearly this is an objective that they are looking to play for. But we do still have Bog of Almonds down here by himself in the bot lane, going to be trying to deny as much as possible from Noshgren and ambush here, but they are able to secure themselves a turret plate. If they are able to secure a second turret plate here, then this is going to end up being a fairly even trade. Basically gold lead for Rift Herald.
Yep, and at this point, what they're doing is they're saying, Bag of Almonds, we're going to play weak side. There's not a ton of kill threat you're going to get out of Aphelios Soraka early. So Sona's just going to kind of roam around the map. Let's give you some solo XP and just try to survive the lane and see if you can manage to be able to make some noise later, but that does run the risk of just this Caitlyn falling behind. Aphelios definitely scales a lot better into the mid and late game than Caitlyn, and already the ult again, blown by Prism, and he might get caught out here.
Oh, no Shockwave and no mana for Prism. Forces out the flash. The Viego stun not going to connect there, so the Orianna will be just fine, and does actually have the blue buff also, so they'll be able to naturally regenerate or not naturally, but will be able to regenerate the mana bar there pretty comfortably. It's a lot of damage onto Bag of Almonds there underneath the tower as Noshkren gets down some decent poke, lands the Q with the sniper rifle there.
Yeah, manages to get a good amount of poke off and going to be sitting pretty, basically at all points in time, with Soraka being able to top him off. There's not a ton of kill threat in this lane because the Soraka is just going to have a lot better healing early than Yuumi does. But we'll see kind of what they can do. We've got this dragon coming up here in about 50 seconds. If you're the side of MG Dragonborn, you really want to try to get that reset in on Caitlyn beforehand, but the wave's not in that best of state, and you do have Dewey roaming down. MIAs are pinged, but it might be too late.
Oh, we got the Viego Akali here. They're hunting. Oh, and that's the double root. Oh, Noshkren just makes it look too easy as they clean up the bot lane. I don't think Dewey even needed to use the perfect execution there, but he's going to go for it just for good measure, just to get that assassination off as quickly as possible. And that should secure the second dragon of the game now as well. But this is a strong counter punch from the side of Dragonborn. They're going to get this Herald charge into the mid-tier 1, take off 3 plates from that mid-tower, and they do force the rotation out as Dewey and Jay-Z are coming back into mid here to defend. But look at all of this gold going into Aphelios' pockets.
Yep, 3 plates for 4 plates and 2 kills. You're taking 4 plates and 2 kills, my friend. And literally right before Bag of Almonds flash came up, you have the Aphelios coming in with the Moonlight Vigil, the double root from Gravitum to set up the perfect of perfect executions from the side of Dewey, giving them 2 kills. There might be a response here, but they're too far into their tower. And now without a tower on the bottom side of the map, it's going to make playing for these early dragons so much more difficult on the side of MG Dragonborn.
Absolutely, yeah. You could see Goat Milk just trying to bait in some more fighting there as his jungler was making his way into the lane. And they will actually secure the dragon because Aphelios and Soraka wanted to hang out in that bot lane long enough to secure the first turret. They wanted to destroy that bot lane tier 1. They were forced to back at a time when the dragon was alive, which does give over control of that neutral territory back to the Dragonborn, and they will tie up that neutral count 1-1.
Yep, they do stop that stack, which is nice, and bring it into a Hex Soul. So Hex Soul, by far the most powerful and the most sought-after souls in all of Runeterra right now.
Oh, here comes Akali again. Dewey's going to look for it. The Gale Force in. Noshkren just annihilates the enemy support. Goat Milk was there, and then he absolutely wasn't.
Yep, unfortunately, the range on Aphelios when he has the green gun is just so good. And on top of already having a Gale Force at 12 minutes here, the 2 kills, 0 deaths, 1 assist, 106 CS, plus all 5 turret plates bottom. He is sitting as probably the richest man on the Rift right now.
Close one there. Ambush almost stealing away the big chicken. Not quite going to find it, though. And yes, this Aphelios is extraordinarily fed at this point. We are seeing the reverse almost of last game when it was Bag of Almonds who had this massive lead on the Caitlyn. Now the tables have turned in the bottom lane, and Noshkren is in a position to carry his team towards victory.
Yeah, definitely getting this Aphelios fed early is great if you are a UW Stout fan. Just being so massively ahead is going to be working onto likely a Collector or a Lord Dominic's Regards as his second item here. And just sitting in a great position here. And not a ton is the response so far. Not a very big rebuttal from the side of MG Dragonborn, just trying to still play a little bit safe. Oh, the Nano ended up catching himself out there, is likely going to die.
Didn't have the Bellows Breath to immune the pullback either. Uses it now, but it's just too late. The damage comes through, and Jay-Z picks up the kill. It's going to be Viego on the board.
Yep, unfortunately mistimed the charge, so he got no knock-up, no value out of that charge, and then just had nothing left even after the flash, but
okay, Shockwave comes out there. A lot of damage coming out from Prism. Noshkren in some trouble. Gale Force away. The Cyclone connects. Oh, gets the knock-up, and the shutdown comes through. The ace in the hole. It's a double for Bag of Almonds, and he's right back in it.
Yeah, Bag of almonds back in it, but
Dewey.
who wants some of those
Go for the
almonds? Dewey wants some of those
assassination.
almonds.
He wants some almonds, but he don't think he's going to find them. He's just going to have to retreat, book it back towards the tier 1 tower, which, by the way, is barely clinging to life there. I expect that to fall before too much longer, but for now, it's just going to be the Dragonborn taking their winnings and going back to base to spend that gold.
Yep, a very good rebuttal at that point. Great comeback and heads-up play. And also, you saw Goat Milk decided to not be a solo queue support and steal the kill from Caitlyn, gifting the kill over to the Bag of Almonds, knowing you are the carry, get you the kills, and we might still win this game. So you're now sitting at 2-1, 2-1 matching on the Aphelios and the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn's still behind, though, the pace of the game on items and gold, but that gap is starting to close. You're seeing mythics coming out from everyone except for the support so far, and Viego, who opted in for the first item, Blade of the Rune King. And you're seeing them going in for the second Rift Herald here now.
They sure are. And it does look like they are going to be able to secure it, as UW Stout is not in a position right now to contest the objective. They're just not in that part of the map. So this will be a neutral, another neutral, going over to the Dragonborn. And Knives, while we are on the subject of good decisions being made by Goat Milk, I want to take a quick look at the item inventory there. We do see the Oblivion Orb picked up. Almost certainly going to be going towards that Chemtech Putrefier to provide his teammates with those grievous wounds, which I do think is an extremely intelligent decision when we look over here at what we have on the other team. The Soraka, the Aatrox, even the Viego are all going to have so much healing from their kits that I think that item choice from Goat Milk is going to get quite a lot of value.
Absolutely. It's so great of value because it affects everyone. Whenever you're shielding, whenever you're healing your teammates, like it's going to go into effect once you get it. So effectively, you're getting the value of 5 for 1 there.
Really
but they might get caught out here.
Jay-Z is looking for it. Goat Milk. Oh, he's so squishy on the Sona. He almost goes down. The Aphelios ultimate and takes him out. Noshgren finishes him off from long range. And Travis going in there gets the double knock-up with the Darkened Blade. Blue team running out of health bars. Jay-Z coming in with the stun. Nano getting some frontlining done here, allowing the rest of his teammates to walk it out. And it will be just the 1 kill secured and what looked very, very dangerous for the Dragonborn.
Yep, definitely a dangerous game. Lucky that they managed to get out with only 1 casualty, but you look at the Summoner spell casualty. Everything was either burned or already burned before this fight on the side of the Dragonborn, so it makes it very difficult. And UW Stat are gifted that second dragon of theirs over, so that they are 1 point off of that soul point. Still sitting very pretty, and also doing a good job just defending this mid-outer that is, again, as we said minutes ago, clinging to life. A stiff breeze will kill that tower, but they're not getting close enough to be able to even throw a stiff breeze at that tower.
Yeah, if Orange so much as breathes on it, it's for sure going down there. He's going to be breathing on Travis instead, but it's not going to mean all that much at the moment. It's not really sure why we're watching top lane, to be honest. These guys
I guess there's just
healthy.
not enough going on.
Yeah, pretty quiet game state at the moment. We did just to secure that second dragon for the side of Stout. Kubix maybe wants something here. Does not have the Cyclone available. But Prism, is running extremely low. He does not have a turret to go back to. He's going to go gold and buy himself some time, but I don't know what he's buying it for, as the execution comes through perfectly from Dewey and secures himself his second of the game.
That was one of those plays where you kind of just question why'd you, unless you already have enough for your Zonias, why'd you use the stopwatch? Yeah. You weren't getting out of there. You had no teammates nearby. Just take the death. You already knew that you were going down, but great heads-up play still from Dewey. Again, now just being able to hit with the wallet, already having the rocket belt, the sword shoes, and the Hextech alternator is very, very strong right now. As the Akali, a level 13 to a level 11. So just a very heavy lead. This Akali and this Aphelios have both been set up for great success so far in this game on the side of UW Stout.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we kind of discussed the team compositions coming out of that drafting phase there. The skirmish-heavy comp from UW Stout does need to be playing with a lead, right? That's how it functions, is you have to be able to catch people out and secure kills. You have to be able to punish mistakes very, very effectively. And they certainly have a lead to work with right now. And I do think they are probably favored with, given the team composition and the current game state.
Oh yeah, they're definitely sitting on a good lead. About a 3,500 lead here. Looks like they have to blow that Rift Herald now. I was about to comment on that, but they got to use it now. Timer is out, so they're going to try to at least get this top outer tower, reclaim a bit of some lost gold here, but it's still sitting at a pretty heavy detriment. It's not even going to get that tower unless they really overload this top lane, which it looks like that's what they want to do, but we'll see if they decide to match.
We're going to get the charge in. The turret will likely drop here. They're not going to go for the turret, though. They're going to go for the kill. Travis is still alive. Ace in the hole comes out, but it's blocked by Dewey, and he's looking for a little bit more. He could go back in with the E. Perfect execution forward. Gets himself into the shroud, but they have vision of him. They shut him down. Wukong picks up the gold, and now Travis is forced to retreat. Oh, that's so much damage from Aphelios as the Moonlight Vigil comes out. Jay-Z just needs a single reset, but he gets cut down. Kubix gets another one, and it's the side of MGD fighting back, picking up 2 kills to none.
Such a great play, playing that knife's edge from the side of the Dragonborn.
Prism gonna get pulled back here. That's a lot of damage onto the Orianna, but Kubix dives forward. It's 2 kills going back over, though. Travis is still alive. He's getting so much healing from the Aatrox passive, and it's 3 kills going back over. They had the 2-man advantage on the side of MGD. They thought they could play for a little bit more, but they get punished for it.
The Aatrox healing and the Soraka healing are just too much to deal with. The moment that Sona goes down, you just don't have any way to win that fight, and they're immediately going for that Baron.
Wow,
and it's going to get them kind of low, but they still might be able to get it. They do have red and white gun, which means that's going to melt that Nash.
Okay, we got the teleport coming in. Nano wants to contest this. Baron's still at around 3,000. I think it's gone, though. The jungler can't get over here in time, and the smite will secure it as Jay-Z picks up the objective. Nano looking to see if he can stop some backs here. They could be playing for the dragon on the side of MGD if they can delay these resets long enough, but the side of UW Stout, group up as 5, walk out together. They get off those resets, and they should be able to make it back out onto the map to contest.
Yep, a great heads-up play to make those decisions to go for those Barons. When you get some pick and it's very early on to the Baron, usually a lot of teams will fold on that and say, no, let's just reset, just reset.
Okay, this is a little bit exciting. That's going to be Kubix going in for a big Cyclone, gets a lot of knockups. There's the follow-up there, though. They get a lot of damage down onto the Aatrox, but Travis still with so much healing, and Dewey still with so much damage as he makes his way into the back line. Goat Milk flashes over the wall, but he will not survive as Jay-Z breaks his heart. Bag of Almonds now on the run, gets down the trap, but Dewey flashing in, lands the E, the Shuriken. He dives forward looking for a little bit more. Jay-Z finds the stun, and Bag of Almonds will get eaten. 3 more kills going back over to UW Stout. They're going to put themselves on Hexal point, and they are now in full control of game number 2.
Man, it looks like they took their allergy pills between games. They are no longer afraid of the almonds. In fact, they are eating those almonds for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The Nail's going to try to hold things off here, but this Soraka healing is just ludicrous.
Oh, he just can't die. The orb comes out. Prism with a little bit of movement speed here, but he's walking. It's a trap, Prism. Get out of there. As Aphelios was hunting. But
now, the Chemtrack Putrefier has been finished. So, Goat Milk does have a way to help cut some of this healing. But there's so much healing. There's healing. There are level advantages. You've got a 2-level advantage between Sona and Soraka right now. The shoe is definitely on the other foot in this game. So I'm not sure if it's just a red side buff in general or what at this point, but you are seeing a very different team here out of the side of UW Stout.
Absolutely. It's night and day, right, from how game number 1 was looking at this point in the match. It's really, the shoe, as you just said, is completely on the other foot. It's Noshkren, who's extremely fed on the Aphelios. It's Dewey outperforming his mid lane counterpart on this flashy Akali pick. And they're just playing really, really well as a team. They just seem to know exactly how to play the game out from here. And they're going to be pushing down mid lane. They're grouped up as in a 4-1 right now. We have Aatrox off in the side lane with teleport. This tier 1 tower gets secured. They are running out of Baron buff here. It will expire relatively soon. I think maybe just a few more seconds on that one. Don't know if they're going to be able to get too much more, but the damage really feels like it may have been done. The gold lead up to over 7,000. They are going to continue pushing. Baron buff has fallen off. Nano down here in the bot lane to defend against the Aatrox.
Yeah, at this point, what you're looking for is you're just looking for a pick if you are the Dragonborn. Such an effective use of Baron buff. Got a dragon, got several picks, got several towers. You're sitting in such a great position on the side of UW Stout, and it's only going to get worse. You know, this Soraka is going to continue to be able to keep all of their carries so topped off. It's going to be so difficult to kill them later. You need to get a pick. You need to annihilate this Soraka. Probably even more so than you need to annihilate anyone else on their team. Because as long as Soraka's alive, everyone else on their team stays alive.
Always focus Soraka. It has given me much grief in solo queue. My teammates do not understand that you have to kill Soraka first, or you can't kill anybody. And that is, of course, the case here as well, as you say there. Knives, and they're pushing in the top lane right now. Just kind of seem like they're pulling MGD across the map and just picking up more gold wherever they go.
Yeah, now they did get the teleport off the Aatrox. It looks like they caught Aphelios out on his
himself.
own.
They caught him. The Moonlight Vigil comes out, but it's not going to be enough. All by his lonesome, and now Dewey is trying to save the play. He gets the E, the Shuriken onto Bag of Almonds, but he can't follow up on it. He is into the Shroud now. Call of Forge God comes out, gets the knockup onto ambushes Soraka. Soraka gets taken out, and those are a couple of really massive picks for the Dragonborn. They're going to try and fight their way back into the game now, pushing it down mid. 5 men strong. Going to look to pick up this tier 2 tower for themselves. They may even be able to go for a little bit more here, Knives.
Yep, disaster on the side of UW Stout. Nashkren was trying to greed for that extra wave, trying to keep the wave in a good position for his squad to maintain vision, and just got absolutely blasted with no one else from his team nearby. And then they catch ambush out without flash with the Ornalt from Nano and just annihilate both of them. They keep enough space and chip Dewey down enough to make sure that Dewey does not want to try to one-shot this Caitlyn anymore, because it's going to be a death for her. So just backs on out, but you get 2 critical picks. And that's another kill onto your Wukong, another kill onto your Caitlyn. And I'm excited to see what these next item buys are. You see a BF sword on the side of Caitlyn here, and potentially a finish of a death stance here soon for Wukong.
Wow, so it was UW Stout with the Baron, with the gold lead, playing towards the push. But they just got a little bit greedy, as you say, and it was the side of the Dragonborn not giving up on the pick, hanging around in the mid lane and finding that massive punish. Now, 30 seconds on the third Hextech Dragon, and super minions in mid will give some push for the Dragonborn. They currently do have position in the river here. Kubix dashes forward, gets a little bit of damage down onto the Aatrox. Moving in now are you, Wisconsin. Shuriken does connect. Not willing to go in just yet. Dewey biding his time. The Nimbus strike forward into the Cyclone. The engage comes through for the Dragonborn. Oh, but Dewey into the backline. He assassinates the Caitlyn, and the gold lead was still too much. Dewey is causing absolute havoc. Travis finds the knockup with the Darkened Blade, and it's Dewey with the double kill. And it's an absolute annihilation. Knives. Oh, the side of the Dragonborn thought they had the game back in their hands, but the side of Stout just rip it away from him once again.
Yep, they are still hitting them with their wallets. Unfortunately, Bag of Almonds got caught out by Dewey, and it's not going to be the end of the game. I don't think they can end on this push. They don't have enough with just that cannon. I mean, I don't think, but they're going to try for it.
They're going to get the inhibitor for sure. So both mid inhibitors will be down. Rihanna in 10 seconds. I don't think they can end the game here. I do agree with your initial assessment. They're going to fall back. They're going to claim themselves the Hextech Soul and play this one out nice and slow. Oh.
See if Kubix can do anything about it.
He's going to try and sneak his way in towards this pit, but it's going to be real difficult. We see
this is going to be a one-way trip if he goes for it.
MGD are coming out of the base right now, but Kubik's already down to 50%. It would be blind. And he gets the steal! Kubik secures the objective, but he sacrifices his life for it. And now over the wall comes Travis. It's the flash away from Nano. They just need to get out. A heroic steal from the Dragonborn jungler keeps his team in the game.
Oh, such a great steal from Kubix, but also on the back end of that play, Prism's Orianna ball. The command attack was so critical because it sat right in that red bush and told Jay-Z, if you go forward, we will kill you. They're going to end up probably losing this Baron. I see no world where they try to contest this. They really should not contest it. There's no smite. There's no steal. But you stopped the soul. You delayed things for 5 minutes, and you're seeing ornaments. It's getting close to holiday time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm seeing some ornaments coming in here, and we are going to start seeing some extra damage on the side of MG Dragonborn. But man, is this not, if anything, a fun as hell game right now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all excited.
It's a certified banger, that's for sure. This is just going back and forth and back and forth. Some great plays on both sides. The gold lead is still massive. But as you say, you know, those stockings starting to get stuffed a little bit. Nano is ho-hoing his way towards that level 16, level 17 mark. But everybody gets those upgraded items. We could be looking more towards an even playing field here once again. That scaling, that team fight power will eventually come through. But Dewey and Travis, level 16, these solo laners for UW Stouts, they're going to be looking to close this one out before then, as the siege commences onto the top tier 2. Kubix moving forward, Call of the Forge God comes out. They're just trying to push UW Stout off the minion wave right now. The root comes down, but Noshkren can't get much more done right now. They have Aatrox splitting in the bottom lane, and he's going to be looking to secure the second inhibitor. Some great split pushing coming out.
Yeah, great split pushing and a great silence from ambush, preventing the knockup from the Ornhorn, just pulling this team apart. You're likely expecting this inner tower just to go down. You can only really defend those inhibitor towers as what's next, but they're getting pinched really hard and they are getting squeezed.
Oh, yeah, really, the pressure is getting put on now by UW Stout. They're going to be looking for the throat here for sure. Travis is already onto the Nexus towers. This Aatrox, so scary. 3-level lead over the Ornn right now. Kubik's forced to collapse to clear out these cannon minions, but that means that the top tier 3 is going to be very lightly defended as the next minion wave comes in. I think this tower may be about to fall here. Knives, Kubix goes in. He wants to try and save it. He barely hangs on to life. He gets off the Cyclone. He pushes them back temporarily, but the tower will still fall. Aatrox is still pushing up towards those Nexus towers. It's going to be the triple inhibitor, and this is going to be so tough to come back from now. They're holding onto both Nexus towers for the time being, but as these super minions pile into the base, it's going to become extremely difficult to defend. Noshkren trying to get the damage down. The shockwave connects. The Aphelios in trouble. He goes golden. He buys a little bit of time. Call of the Forge God comes out, but they got the AD carry. Now can Dewey finish things off? It's all up to the Akali now. They get the first kill onto the jungler. It's a 4v4 now on the map. The Nexus towers are getting taken out. The Ornn, the top laner, gets finished off. The Nexus is exposed. And the side of UW Stout are looking to take us to game 3. Half health on the Nexus. Jay-Z into the back line. He's pushed them back towards the fountain. The Nexus is down. And we have got a series tonight.
What a comeback victory in terms of the games from UW Stout. They said, all right, we are going to give you Ornn. We're going to give you Wukong. We're going to give you Caitlyn. And we're going to play Aatrox into the Ornn again. And we are going to raise you in a Aphelios Soraka and an Akali. And my, oh my, did they play that so well to their advantage. They made a slightly even to disadvantageous lane matchup to a very advantageous lane matchup and just blasted MG Dragonborn from start to finish. And we got ourselves a series on your hands. Like you said, 1-1. We're going to see what can happen here in this third and final game of the series. But man, lots of stuff for now. MG Dragonborn to have to take to the chopping block and see if they can carve out a victory here in game 3, or if the comeback will be completed by UW Stout.
Absolutely, Knives. I love that we saw such great play from both sides. It wouldn't be as exciting if it felt like UW Stout kind of stumbled their way into a victory with like some misplays from Dragonborn or something like that, but that was not the case. It was absolutely the shoe on the other foot. This time around, it was UW Stout with a composition that they knew exactly how they wanted to pilot. They played it out well. There were a couple of picks that happened that made things a little bit close at some points there. But overall, they played extremely well and they showed, that as indicated by the power rankings, that these two teams are so close in terms of overall skill.
Yep, and going into game three, just going to be interested to see what they bring as their next options. Else do they have in the depths of their pockets? What other tricks are they willing to pull out? Because now for both these teams, it is do or die. So get those things going in chat. The hashtag MG win, the hashtag UW win, whichever team you're supporting here tonight, let us know, cheer them on, and let's get ready for a banger of a game three here, ladies and gentlemen.
It's gonna be really, really exciting. We'll be right back, guys, with the exciting conclusion of tonight's match. You don't want to miss this one. We'll be right back.
Do you have all the icons and stuff switched up for the other side of it?
Should be good, yes. Welcome back, everybody. We are about to get into game 3, our third and final game tonight, as these teams have both landed blows on one another. And this one will decide who walks away with the win. Really, really exciting stuff. What kind of adjustments do you think we can expect from Dragonborn here for this third game? As the losers of game 2, they have elected to move back over to red side, which incidentally has won both of the first 2 games so far tonight, Knives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting not necessarily a ton of changes on the draft priorities here. I'm just kind of curious now to see if Lux will be allowed through, because I feel like actually if you play Caitlyn Lux as your bottom lane, since you are red side and on MG Dragonborn, you actually could have maybe more of that agency in the lane. But I could see a world where the Dragonborn squad says we want to play Caitlyn Lux, and we're going to just, again, get rid of something like a Soraka that's going to help buff up an Aphelios. I could see a world where they do that angle, but I'm not expecting still too much of a change in draft. But maybe everyone's just going to throw the game plans out the window and just play for whatever sticks.
Yeah, I wonder if, maybe the Aphelios will be worth a ban. Maybe something like the Akali. We'll just have to wait and see. Just as a reminder, everybody, Dragonborn, their bans for both of the first 2 games tonight were Lulu, Silas, and then in game 2, actually, they switched up and banned away the Mordekaiser from Travis up there. But Travis has been very, very content to keep looking towards that Aatrox. Looks like it may get left open here for him once again. And I must say, he looked much better on it in that second game than he did in game number 1. It's going to be the Viego that Dragonborn identified as the main issue. So that is what is going to get banned away, which does, of course, mean that Aatrox will get locked away for B1 for the Stout top laner.
Yeah, but I'm expecting right now, at least, if history tells us anything, I'm expecting Caitlyn Lux as the 2 picks here. Unless they just have a different identity, they want to remove their bottom lane, I would expect them to just pick both sides of their bottom lane here on R1, R2. Looks like they want that Syndra. They liked it from game 1. And to be fair, the Orianna from the side of Prism was kind of underwhelming, especially in the face of an Akali.
As the Syndra, that's for sure. That is
so definitely indexing into we want the Syndra, and also trying to say we want you to show your mid lane pick or we're going to ban it.
All right. Yeah, very interesting. I do think that the Akali would fare reasonably well into the Syndra, as it did into the Orianna. We'll see if Dewey wants to prioritize that selection. It is going to be the Caitlyn for Almonds once again. So 3 out of 3 games tonight, he will be piloting the Caitlyn. See if he's able to make something happen here in game number 3. One thing that I do kind of think is worth noting here, Knives, is that what we saw from Dragonborn in game number 1, that we were, praising so much, that the early lane swap into the first turret and the Herald and everything, it definitely felt like something that was pre-planned, right? So maybe a consideration here is the fact that since Caitlyn seems to be absolutely the preferred marksman for Bag of Almonds, then UW Stout may be better prepared to answer a play like that if Dragonborn tries to rinse and repeat that same strategy. But it will be the Lux and the Jhin locked in for the bottom lane here for Noshkren and Ambush. So Aphelios was available, but he decided not to go for it. He wanted to put himself on a little bit more of a utility pick this time around for the UW Stout AD carry, and it will be the Ornn then locked away. So 3 out of 3 games, we are getting the Aatrox versus Ornn in the top side.
Yep, and it's possible that Lux is going mid, but odds are it's going to go bottom. Jhin Lux bottom lane is a solo queue nightmare bottom lane. It is a ton of fun if you're playing it. It's a ton of hell if you're playing against it. So matching the range against the Caitlyn and also providing the capacity to counter her push. One of the big things about Caitlyn is that you want to be able to always be able to push lane and be aggressive with her early by just leveraging the fact that you can put more minions on your side than your opponent. Jin and Lux kind of act in a little bit way to counter that and also have the burst damage potential to blow up the Caitlyn if she gets caught out. So interested to see what they will do here on the back end, and also the ban. So you've got an Akali ban and a Wukong ban. So you're going to be forcing Cubics onto a different jungler this time, throwing another ban over at Dewey the Victor. So trying to pinch away at that mid lane pool here going into the second round of picks. And the Morgana as the final ban. So removing the original combination of the bottom lane being Kate Morg as the iconic bottom lane down there. So now you're kind of down to a couple other enchanters that you could play, like a Nami or a Karma. I would expect, if anything, maybe you with a Karma. But you also could just say, you know, we're going to go with a Blitzcrank or a Thresh or a Leona or a Nautilus, something else entirely.
Yeah, definitely interesting. They're going to prioritize the jungle pick here. So maybe just wanting a little bit more time to consider the options for Goat Milk here. Kubix is going to put himself on an early playmaking champion, something that should pair extremely well with these pushing lanes of the Syndra and the Caitlyn that want to have that pressure early on. You know, especially the Syndra can really set up for the Jarvan and vice versa for some pretty nasty combos there, potentially. So the mid lane pick going to be really... Warwick Mordekaiser? What?
I am assuming that this is going to be a Mordekaiser mid. But it could also be an Aatrox mid, Warwick top, Mordekaiser jungle. There's a lot of weird ways you can slice this thing up. I mean, hell, you could have a Mordekaiser support if you really want to do. But Caitlyn Nami as the final pick here to round out the bottom lane for MG Dragonborn. I don't know 100% what to make of the composition that they're running. I would guess it's going to be Mordekaiser mid. I don't think Mordekaiser top into Ornn is very good because you can telegraph the Bellows Breath to deny the invitation into the Shadow Realm. So I would assume it's going to be a Mordekaiser mid, which, depending on how you play the matchup, can gain some advantages into the Syndra. Syndra is an immobile mage, so you can pull her in and knock her down if you do manage to land your spells correctly.
Well, Knives, according to op.gg, Travis is in fact the Mordekaiser player, and it is Jay-Z who is the Warwick player. So, personally, I am predicting actually the Aatrox to go mid, and what is, you know, what would admittedly be a definite curveball, you know, considering the fact that Travis has been the Aatrox player in the previous 2 games tonight, but ultimately, we will just have to wait and see. It's a very interesting melee-heavy composition that has been drafted by UW Stout for this deciding 3rd game, and it is going to be Travis on the Mordekaiser. So, you know, that you were just mentioning one favorable interaction for Ornn in that matchup. I do think that this should theoretically be a little bit more comfortable for Nano as compared to the Aatrox matchup, but you know, Mordekaiser is notoriously pretty good into tanks, you know, considering he does have that % max HP burn on the passive, so it's going to be interesting, and I ultimately don't necessarily blame Travis for wanting to switch things up, because he has struggled to find advantages in the lane on the Aatrox.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting. And, you know, the Mordekaiser is going to be an interesting pick into the Ornn, as well as the Aatrox into the Syndra. I'm not sure how many reps Prism has playing into this matchup, but apparently something that Dewey is willing to play into, so we'll see how that goes. The Warwick pick is interesting, and again, not a lot of people see Warwick, so it might do exceptionally well here because a lot of people aren't going to remember what his pathing looks like and kind of how he operates. But I would have honestly liked to have seen a Sejuani out of UW Stout, because you do already have the 2 melees, and then you can just have a super tank to just throw the Glacial Prism at Syndra or at Caitlyn to then set up some pretty free kills. But at the same time, the Warwick Infinite Duress can also be pretty effective, but the melee passive would just have given such great agency for the laning phase. But at the same time, Jay-Z might be a Warwick god. We don't know, but we are going to be finding out what what sort of quality Warwick player he is.
We sure are. We absolutely are. And it is definitely going to be exciting. The, both of these junglers for Kubix and for Jay Z are, I think we can say, pretty heavily focused around the early game. Both of them really want to find advantages early on, and they both have some really nice lanes to play around here. So, in terms of draft, I think our game 3 draft has already delivered.
Oh, absolutely. Our game 3 draft has been a very fun draft so far. Again, some of the things, some of the core elements of these teams staying the same and some things changing on up. Excited to see kind of what they will do. These teams are now playing very similar compositions of just kind of wanting to play front to back team fight. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can't say the last time I've played against a game with a Aatrox mid and a Warwick jungle together. So I can't tell you specifically how my recollection of that matchup will end up going into a Jarvan Syndra, but it will definitely be very interesting, and it will be specifically interesting to see. It'll probably, I'm assuming it's going to be Tank Wick, so you're probably going to go Bork into Sunfire. With the Jarvan, though, you can kind of go a couple different options. Like you can go the full tank Jarvan, or you can go, I've seen, the Eclipse Jarvan, the full damage. I'm going to one-shot your back line. Like there's a couple different ways you can kind of play that out. So I'm interested to kind of see what these build paths will look like and just how how both these teams will be looking to play out this third and final decisive game.
Yeah, certainly Jarvan Syndra, much more of a known quantity than Warwick Aatrox in terms of that mid 2v2. So it's really going to be mostly up to Jay Z and Dewey, I think, and how they want to play around these melee skirmishing champions. Like or if they're going to play more for the Warwick, like if Aatrox is just going to be sacking lane, turn around and try and like pressure Jarvan out of the jungle and impact side lanes, or if Warwick is going to be like camping mid lane. Syndra doesn't have any dashes, so maybe they can get some ganks off, even though neither one of them really has any setup. But Knives, we didn't have time last game. I want to get a prediction from you, if I may, for this champion select coming into this third and final game. We've already discussed how exciting it is, but do you think one side of it might be a little bit better than the other? What are your thoughts?
So this is a tough one.
It is.
So my heart is telling me MG Dragonborn because I still think that their composition from a front to back standpoint has an easier barrier of execution and is a little bit just more fundamental to play. But I think that all the momentum's in the favor of UW Stout after last game, and then they completely changed up their draft from the last game. They didn't say we're going to repick Aphelios and, play Aphelios Soraka. That wasn't even banned out. We're saying we're just going to checkmate your idea of Kate Lux, and we're going to take the Lux and play with the Jhin. So I'm actually going to take UW Stout on this one. I think that they've played the mental game a little bit well. They've got the momentum, and they've just pulled out some wacky-ass stuff in this final game that I'm not sure MG Dragonborn was prepared for.
All right, the deciding game 3 Style Esports Season 13, Week 4 continues right after this. Welcome back to the Rift, everyone. No technical difficulties this time around. Thank you so much again for bearing with me. I really am not as proficient on the production side of things. I am just the talk fast guy, but we did make sure things are working correctly this time around. Kubik's going to get a nice deep ward in on towards the enemy blue buff. So some early vision, trying to track this Warwick pick. See what he's going to try and do early on here. Trap's going to stop the back, though. So Kubik's loses about 75 HP and might be a little bit delayed for his first camp here. He's just going to have to stay out on the map. Not going to be able to switch to that sweeping lens.
Yep, a great little bit of an interaction there as the Mordekaiser just delaying that recall, preventing the recall to be able to get the Oracle's Lens, but also you now know that J4 has to start at the top side. So J4 is going to be playing top down. Warwick is going to match as well. So JC is saying, I know you want to play around the bag of almonds. I'm going to come down. I'm going to try to checkmate you down at the bottom side of the map.
Now, Knives, we do have a couple of rune choices this game that we absolutely do need to point out. So Dewey, comment on the Aatrox mid. So this is a fairly common rune choice for Aatrox top, at least, when he is in matchups where he's not necessarily able to step up to the minion wave. He's really, playing more just to get that little bit of poke damage down with the Darkened Blade to try and secure, as much CS, as many favorable trades as possible without going all in. As we see Travis bringing down the mace nice and early here. But the other rune that we really do need to mention, I think, is Lethal Tempo for Kubix on the J4. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, the Lethal J4 has been a new thing going on. Nano's getting into a bit of a
really
fight
low. This might be to the death right here. Both top laners do still have the flash, and they're actually just going to walk away from each other. Both extremely low, down to about 100 HP, and Jarvan is in the bot side river making his way down. Both junglers on the bottom side of the map. Both junglers are level 3. They went for the fast level 3. Jarvan is going to be the first to the play. Has the EQ combo. Going to be going inside. Steps to light binding. Goes in. Does not get the knock up. And Warwick is here for the counter gank. Root comes in. Kubix trying to walk his way out. The triple fear from the Warwick. Jay-Z, is it enough? The flash away. Kubix burning from the ignite. But does manage to stay alive. It is the flash and the ignite off of Lux. Traded for the flash and the heal. And the top laners are still going at it. The knockup, I think, was mistimed there. Nano flashing away, trying to stay alive. Oh my god, it's such a bloodbath early on. Lux is going to pick up the first blood onto the enemy support. Kubix is trying to trade one back. They do manage to get one. And it's the side of Bag of Almonds as the last man standing in the bot lane here for UW Stout. But Dewey is here. He makes the roam down from mid lane. And the Bag of Almonds is all out of snacking buddies. He's going to be the one who gets taken out, and it's 3-1 on the board. It's UW Stout, on the blue side, who find themselves with the early lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble. Blood in the water, blood in their eyes, and they are fighting super early here. A lot of stuff going on there. So you had Kubix is caught out again. The early roam from ambush to really try to keep this Jarvan on the back foot. So matching both the roams. So matching the jungle pathing between Jay-Z and Jarvan gave them the extra advantage, as well as they had the advantage in the vision game. They knew from their early wards that Jarvan was in the bottom lane. They knew that Kubix was sitting inside that Triverse, and so they said, okay, we'll play this game. We'll play the 3v3. We have more combat summoners than you. Caitlyn has the cleanse, so we have an ignite and a heal, as well as super high base damage from Warwick, especially as he gets lower. That's part of his passive, but Ambush might get caught out here. They're really indexing into this game.
Sidestep to Lux extremely low. Ambush doesn't have flash or anything. He is just dead. The fear does come out, though. Kubix is forced to retreat. I think we're going to get cleared out. Dragon is spawning onto the map now. First dragon of the game going to be a Cloud. There is a man advantage on the bot side right now for the Dragonborn. Let me see really quickly if I can get in here towards the scoreboard, see if I can get those sides swapped for you guys.
Yeah, and they're going for this early dragon. It's actually, Cloud Dragon's one of the tougher ones to take early. The highest attack speed and the highest health in the game. It's actually kind of difficult to take early, but they do manage to grab it. The Nano might be in a little bit of trouble, though. Flash in from the Mordekaiser.
Oh, he's very low, but I think he might be able to make it out. The isolated damage not going to be there. The Q doesn't come off cooldown in time anyways. But the Nano already burned his teleport, so he is going to be falling very far behind the Mordekaiser in this lane. Bag of Almonds down here on the bottom side, a very similar story. Also falling significantly behind Noshkren in terms of CS, although he did pick up that one additional kill. So overall gold between the marksmen is still pretty even for now, but there is a level advantage for the Jhin that could absolutely be coming into play in a little bit here.
Yep, and Travis crashes in that cannon wave. A huge loss in terms of wave pressures. You see 16 CS as the current gap. Still trying to index into this bottom lane. They're looking for it. Almost got caught out there, but they are tempering the regression here from the side of UW Stout. But Kubix is still waiting around.
Waiting in this bush, and no vision. Noshkren going to get locked up. Knocked up into the air. The bubble does land, and the Jhin has nothing left. He almost trades one back onto the almond bag. The Caitlyn will barely survive with about 50 health. Oh, the Lucent Singularity. Ambush wanted to go for a cheeky snipe there, but he's not able to find it. And Caitlyn and Nami should be able to get this wave pushed in with the help of their jungler, and the experience difference should be equalized.
Yep, a good play from the bottom side of MG Dragonborn to be able to make that kind of comeback and get themselves back in the game, but it's still a 20 CS deficit down there. You're matching basically in terms of your items because you have that extra kill, but it's still a very difficult mountain to climb, and you're giving the Lux, you're giving Ambush the opportunity to potentially ambush some of these people on these other maps and might look for a catch here on Syndra.
Nicely done there, Knives. I love the word play. Prism does indeed seem to be in a little bit of danger as the light binding connects. Dewey, oh, the scatter of the week is very nice. Creates enough space for himself to not get knocked up by the darkened blade. Denies the follow-up CC. Syndra is going to be fine for now to collect this wave under tower.
Yeah, and as you already see, if you look at the top of the scoreboard, a 2,000 gold lead. And that's...
Oh, wow.
There's only one turret plate taken, by the way. So that's strictly off of First Blood and CS gap.
Yeah.
But you do see this, again, they lane swap they're pushing into
and
immediately take it into the death
bag
realm.
Of almonds in the realm of death. And Travis has got a couple of levels on this almond bag. Oh, he's out of the death realm now, though. He was able to sidestep the mace, and the bubble does land. Caitlyn, oh, here comes the freaking goon squad. Aatrox flying in there with the blade. Finishes off the Caitlyn. Second death now for the bag of almonds. And this is kind of what I mentioned coming out of the drafting phase, where this is the same play that the Dragonborn ran in game number 1, and this time UW Stout saw it coming. Oh,
yep, this time they saw it coming. Let's see how Nano
let's
can
see your
dodge.
dancing shoes, Nano. You need to dodge the fourth shot. He flashes it, and he will survive. But on the other side of the map, it will be UW Stout picking up the Rift Herald and solidifying their early game lead. Oh,
Flash out of ambush.
EQ in. Kubix wants this. He may be in some trouble now, though. The duress comes out. The flash is severely short there. And that is going to be 6-3 now on the board. UW Stout picking up where they left off at the end of game number 2.
Yep, the early cheese, the early roams proving so effective. Iron Ambush roaming around the map and really helping set up all of his other lanes for success. The counter ganks from Jay-Z mirroring the jungle path of Kubix to really just set them up for success. They're at a massive lead in all of their lanes, over double in the bot lane, a wave and a half in mid lane, 3 camps in the jungle, and 3 to 4 waves currently in the top lane. It is an absolute gapping right now, and we're going to see if they can hold on to this lead or if you're going to get some comeback here. Lux gets stunned on up, but should just be able to walk on out. Not really much kill threat off of a Ruby Crystal Ionia boots Nami.
Right. Caitlyn was not in position, of course, to do any following up on that, so Ambush, perfectly safe. Going to be able to defend his pink ward in the Tribe Rush, no problem whatsoever. Jarvan, though, making his way back towards this bottom side. Once again, the EQ into the Cataclysm, and Jhin does not have Flash, which means he does not have a health bar. Oh, he's got the heal, though. He's running towards his jungler. Kubix finishes him off with the lance, but Jay-Z flashing forward, finds the double fear again, and absolutely takes a bite out of that almond bag. Looks like he is absolutely in the mood for some nuts here. The light binding connects, and Kubix now in some trouble. Does not have the combo, and that's going to be a double kill for the jungler. Make it 3 maybe as the Nami gets jumped on. Forced to use the tidal wave to self-peel. And both mid laners are rotating down now towards this bottom side, but it's the side of UW Stout that already won the fight, and they're looking for more.
Yeah, but unfortunately not able. They wanted to donate that kill over to Bag of Almonds so badly that they held off on the damage to kill Jhin while he was inside the Cataclysm, which forced Bag of Almonds to have to utilize his flash to secure that kill. Unfortunately, that meant that there was no way out as soon as Jay-Z came in with the fear.
Good call out there, Knives. I did miss the flash forward from Bag of Almonds that set himself up for the punish to come through from Jay-Z's Warwick, who has consistently been in exactly the right place at exactly the right time all game long so far. But Noshkren, unfortunately, we cannot say the same for him, as he is going to get stunned up and is going to take some balls to the face here. So Noshkren does get taken out, but that is the dragon count tied up now at 1-1 as Jay-Z secures the Infernal.
Yeah, I don't think he's a very good dodgeball player because just got hit by everything, and Dewey's looking for some more fight. The World Ender is popped, but heal from Goat Milk gets them both out to safety.
Absolutely. Dewey really putting on the pressure with this mid Aatrox. Here comes the Cataclysm, but a very nice flash from Dewey keeps himself safe. The bubble does connect, though. Kubik's still in there, but look at all of that damage. The Ignite comes down. Oh, but the healing is enough. The shield comes through, and Kubik's just barely survives. But that was a little bit ill-advised going forward with the Jarvan there. Is usually, Jarvan Syndra, when they go in for that combo, it's usually really tough to escape from that one. But Aatrox just had enough healing to where he just fought his way out.
Just enough healing and perfectly timed his flash during the Cataclysm, so it did no damage and never locked him down either. So really good timing from Dewey, and Dewey might have caught some fish here, but lets it go. Really wants to back. Went with the first item Maw as well, so that's an interesting thing. So 4 went the Mythic and said, you know what, I just need to survive some early damage off of Prism, and so I'm just going to go with a full Maw Malmortius early. So if I ever get low, all that Lifeline passive is going to do so much work for me early.
Yeah, that is a really interesting itemization choice. Really, it's explicitly for the lane matchup, right? Because there's really not much other magic damage on this Dragonborn squad. So really just wanting to deny Prism from having that game 1 performance that we know he's capable of on this pick. And it really seems to be working out exceptionally well for him so far. Travis continuing to press his advantage up here in the top side. We have Herald number 2 in about a minute, and Dragon number 3 in about a little under 3 minutes.
Yeah, but we're looking... Kubix might try to go for a fight here, but Death Realm is up, so anytime you gank Mordekaiser, it automatically can become a 1v1.
And that is not a 1v1 that Kubix would win. So he is wisely going to back away from that one. But I don't think he necessarily wins this one either. Here he comes. Gonna have to walk out of the Infernal Chains. The Scat of the Week does connect, but it just unfortunately doesn't mean a whole lot. See that Magic Resist doing work for Dewey here in the mid lane. Keeping him safe once again.
Trying to keep him safe. And also an adaptation from Syndra. Went with the Liandry's, because it wants that extra burn damage against some of the tankier targets like the Mordekaiser, Warwick, and Aatrox. So a little bit less damage that you get because, or at least upfront damage that you normally get out of something like the Ludens because the extra magic pen. But going for a little bit of the long game here. Kubix trying to catch up, not him again, but it gets the flash this time.
Hey. Kubix is getting plenty of summoner spells, but unfortunately he's not getting a whole lot more than that so far. And it really just feels like the side of the Dragonborn are starting to fall further and further behind here. This next fight around the Dragon, I think, will be critical. They do not have a composition that scales exceptionally well. You know, they do have the Ornn, that will eventually be given upgrades to people, and Caitlyn, once she gets towards full build, will certainly have plenty of damage. But Syndra, oh, maybe rework Syndra's skills better than she used to. Do you know anything about that, Knives?
So the rework Syndra definitely scales better than she used to, but she still is a lot of single target damage. So you're looking to assassinate one target. And eventually that only target you'll be able to assassinate is going to be the Jhin or the Lux. You're not going to blow up the Aatrox in one combo. You're not going to blow up the Warwick or the Mordekaiser in one combo. So they do need to try to get some advantages here on these dragons and accelerate the pace of the game, or they will get outscaled by just the higher damage on the side of UW Stout.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like they have the stronger skirmishing composition, right, on the side of Stout. As Nano gets yoinked back towards the mace, gets chunked down to about 50%, as Travis does take a turret shot on his way out, which means that trade ends up going relatively evenly. Double not going to connect, and this tower is about to fall. Noshkran just has to reload. It's actually going to be ambushed. That goes ahead and gets the last auto attack down. And that, I believe, was the first brick going over to UW Stout, able to extend their gold lead to 4.5K here around 16 minutes.
And we're going to see what this fight can be around Dragon. Cataclysm is up. And remember, they did get Nocturne's ult, or Nocturne's flash, out of them in the last time they used it. So they will have that Summoner Spell versus ultimate advantage here. But it looks like they might just be giving up on the play and conceding this Dragon, maybe trying to look for a play for that Rift Herald up top.
I mean, just take... Oh, the Death Realm comes down now. Oh, he just burns down. He's not even able to reactivate the Call of the Forge God there. Just gets absolutely destroyed underneath the tower. That's the power of Mordekaiser into tanks. You just burn them down. There's nothing they can do. They don't have, or at least Ornn does not have, a good way of escaping from that AoE burn. And he just gets taken out. Lead extending all across the map here. They're able to secure the Dragon, and they're going to move up towards the Herald now as well. And one thing that I think was critical for the side of the Dragonborn in terms of deciding not to go for that contest was the difference in itemization of the AD carries, as Caitlyn needed to complete the Mythic. As Kubix goes in, finds the Cataclysm onto 3, that the Fear comes down. Final Spectre over the top is so much damage. Now the curtains have been called. Nano trying to do some frontlining, trying to soak up those shots. They're going to have to give up the objective. They just don't have the damage to break through these frontliners on the side of UW Stout. And the blue team gets themselves another neutral objective, extends the lead even further, and they're going to be able to defend mid lane as well.
Yeah, at this point, they're grasping at straws on the side of MGD. They're just trying to go for some plays, but it's just not all there. They're a little bit disjointed in how they're approaching the fights and with what spells they have. That fight goes entirely different if Nano doesn't burn his ultimate in his 1v1 fight in the Death Realm. They would then have the extra damage and the extra CC to maybe try to win a fight there. But unfortunately, with lacking that some of those critical cooldowns, it makes their composition so much less potent, as they are a very heavy ultimate-based composition. And especially from behind, you need to have some picture-perfect team fights if you want a shot in the dark to get past UW Stout in this Game 3.
Absolutely. We are going to need to see everything land here from the Dragonborn. They need to be blowing up one of these targets right at the start of a fight, or even ideally before the fight starts, in order for them to come out on top. Especially the gold lead, it's up to 6,000 now. We're just going to keep seeing this continue to grow. I think this mid lane turret could be slated to fall relatively soon here. It does look like the Herald was already used. The second Rift Herald already used here for the side of Stout. I didn't actually quite see where that got dropped down. I guess it was top lane, right? They used it to break top tier 1?
Yes, they utilized it top side just to get the easy tier 1 break. And looks like Kubix is getting on out. And now one thing that I want to, to help out some of the MGD fans here, hope is not lost. You guys still do have some decent scaling, and if you look at how things are looking up, Kubix might be looking for a pick here. Gets the pick onto
he's looking for the crab, and he did find the crab, and they also found the pick as Ambush walks a little bit too far forward there to drop down a ward, and does get picked off. It was the Nami bubble landing that actually set him up to get knocked down. But Travis has the 2-level lead still here in top lane. has the Rylai's completed, and he is just an absolute menace, just bullying Nano out of the lane. Nano has been playing such a great weak side Ornn all night, but he just seems powerless in the face of this Mordekaiser.
It looks like they're trying to pinch them off, trying to cut them off.
Okay.
Mordekaiser coming on in, utilizing the curtain call to slow down Cubics, but actually managed to get out. Good pings, good vision on the side of MGD to make sure that they have the capacity to get on out from getting pinched in by the Fed Mordekaiser.
Yeah, they still have their mid-tier 1 for now, so they were able to retreat to that tower and keep themselves safe. They want to try and defend their blue buff, but I think that might be a little bit too much. They are going to have to give that one up as Kubix finds himself in a death realm. Not sure if he really is enjoying the scenery too much in here, but he is going to be, again, able to retreat to his mid-tier 1, providing a lot of safety right now to the side of the Dragonborn. See how long they're able to keep this one standing. We do have the 4th dragon of the game, 2nd mountain dragon, spawning in about a minute here. So the Dragonborn going to try to leverage the little priority they have left with this tier 1 to get a position in the river. If you're the side of Dragonborn here, how do they need to go about getting set up for this? How can they contest this objective? Or do you think they should give it up?
So I think they can. I think they should and they can contest this objective. So critically, last fight, Kubix gets the Mordekaiser ult out and doesn't die for it. Doesn't have to blow anything for it. So now you're sitting on an actual true 5v5. Mordekaiser cannot pull Kubix into the Death Realm. Cannot pull Prism or Almonds into the Death Realm. So it's a true 5v5 without that ultimate ability down. And looks like we might even get a pick out here on Travis. He gets on out.
Flash now. Mordekaiser, no ult, no flash. It may actually be UW Stout that elects to give up the objective now, as river control is held by the Dragonborn. They don't have very much deep vision, though. They can't really prevent... Oh, ambush, lands a light binding, and... Oh, Goat Milk is just getting absolutely deleted before the fight even starts, and now in comes Dewey with the Aatrox, has the World Ender, getting out the damage, the curtain call bullets over the top. The Aatrox does get taken out, but the fight is handily won by the side of UW Stout off of a single skill shot landing from ambush, and they are going to be able to put themselves on Mountain Soul Point and maintain control over this game.
Yep, they should have known something was fishy there. They ended up getting caught out, and unfortunately, I actually don't necessarily know why Nami did not throw out the ult. I didn't see her getting stunned up by anything. So she should have honestly just tried to throw that ult out and maybe give enough space and enough range for the rest of the team to maybe get away. But it's getting tougher and tougher, but they are still getting some picks. They are still trying to secure as much as they can. It's just very difficult. You've got a Caitlyn that is going Kraken Slayer, so that is a good thing. You're going for that higher damage build and a Nami with Imperial Mandate. But on the other side of it, you have a Mordekaiser with a 9-stacked Medjais. Like, that is going to be very difficult to be able to tear him down and basically impossible to duel him 1v1.
Yeah.
And I don't see anyone building the QSS anytime soon on this team.
Yeah, well, Ornn does have a Negatron cloak, but if that becomes a QSS, I would be a bit surprised. As actually, QSS doesn't build out of Negatron Cloak, does it? It's just Null Magic.
No, it's just out of the Null Magic Mantle. Really, the only people that should be building it, honestly, is Caitlyn. Caitlyn's the main person that should be trying to build it. I think Prism might actually be able to kite out the Mordekaiser in the Death Realm with the Scatter of the Weak, and a couple of the stuns could have the potential to kite that out. Bag of Almonds taken really low off of just the Deadly Flourish into the final Spark.
He's fine. He's going to walk it out. But the turrets might not be so lucky here. We are seeing Mordekaiser up in that top lane, is just continuing to shove that one in, is just chipping away up there. Ambush clearing out some vision. They're trying to get some control in the top side river now. So plenty of time before that next dragon spawn. So vision control over the Baron is the name of the game right now.
Yep, and still with an effective 6,000 gold lead. You know, you did see Ornn just tip over his own item into the ornament, so effectively gets you 1,000 gold. Kubix might get caught out here. Manages to EQ out to buffer it.
Mordekaiser just waiting there, just looking for his prey. just the dance around the Baron right now. Both teams jockeying for vision. Just really the side of the Dragonborn desperately trying to keep some kind of ward in the back of that pit so they can see if it does get started up. And it does seem like Stout really do just want to play for that Mountain Soul. Can't say that I necessarily blame them. It does feel like the safer option, but it does mean that, you know, we're going to have a little bit more time here for Ornn to potentially get towards that next level, give out maybe an upgrade, you know, maybe a completed item for the Caitlyn here, trying to get towards that Infinity Edge.
Yeah, I mean, you are giving time to MGD to be able to scale up and potentially have some opportunity to set up by not going aggressive for the Baron. But you also aren't necessarily losing a ton. It's not like they're getting towers. It's not like they're rotating on the map like they were in game 1 and just kind of running over things. They're not even going to get this tower. That's too risky. They do end up getting it, and they get a little bit of a bounty. But even with that, you saw how scared they were to even get 2 auto attacks on that tower. Because the threat of the Jhin with Gale Force, the threat of the Infinite Duress out of JC, it's a very tough position that they're in. And it's kind of only going to get tougher, but at the same time, they should not try to fight right now unless they put themselves to an advantageous position to grab a pick onto the Lux, onto a pick onto the Jhin. Those are kind of your only avenues of get a Scatter of the Weak, land a bubble, something to pick one target off. Otherwise, you don't win a straight up 5v5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the levels, right? It's really, really severe. 2-level advantage for the Mordekaiser, level advantage for the Aatrox, level advantage for everybody, just across the board right now on UW Stout. They can just basically pressure wherever they want on the map, and they should be able to do that pretty comfortably. However they want to play things out from here, the ball is absolutely in their hands. 30 seconds on Dragon. Oh, Draven gets pulled back. Deadly Flourish connects. Oh, not quite there just yet, but Kubik's down to about 50%. Not where your jungler wants to be at the time of this critical objective spawning in. It seems actually like UW Stout may be going for the old Baron for Dragon trade. They don't need this Mountain Dragon. They could go for Baron instead, but we see Travis now teleporting into the mid lane, and it looks like they will, in fact, move in for the contest. Nano needs to be channeling his own TP very, very soon here to make this an even 5v5. Scatter the Weak connects onto 2. Just peeling away for now. That's a pretty aggressive teleport, but Nano able to walk his way out there. Kubik's in trouble. EQ over the wall, stays alive for now, but the curtain call comes out, and the Jarvan, oh, the last bullet, and Noshkren finishes him off. And Travis into the backline already. He's got the Almond Bag into the realm of death, and Caitlyn will get taken out. The Infinite Duress comes out, and Prism will be the next to fall. It's 3-0. Mountain Soul all but secured, and UW Stout looking to make the comeback a reality.
Such a great aggressive play from the side of UW Stout. Dewey flashing in after utilizing that World Ender to get Kubik so low. Noshkren setting up with the curtain call to finish him off. Travis bringing Bag of Almonds, one of the strongest players on the team, into the death realm and saying, 1v1 me, bro. And it's so devastating right now. An 8,000 gold lead, Mountain Soul in their pocket, soon to be a Baron in their pocket. And at this point, there's nothing left but just to put the final nail in that coffin and put the dirt over it, because it is almost entirely done. Kubik is not even going to get here in time to attempt a steal.
Yeah, not even close. Very, very easy. Baron secure there to the side of UW Stout. And, you know, if we think back, in terms of this game 3, they really were finding advantages from the word go. Like, they were winning all 3 lanes. Jay-Z was matching Kubik's on those early ganks, so Jarvan wasn't able to find that early success, and we know that that's something that this champion is so reliant on. If Jarvan can't find that early advantage, if he can't put his laners ahead, he just doesn't offer that much later into the game. He can try and set up for his carries, but when they don't have the damage because they're too far behind, I mean, there just doesn't really seem to be an answer for the Dragonborn.
Yeah, it's a difficult task at this point, like just being behind, getting tracked early, and just falling behind, you know, when your win conditions are your mid and your bottom. And mid didn't really lose it much, but your bottom lane kind of got rocked, and Ambush was just able to roam and impact mid lane and dissuade some of mid lane.
Ooh, light binding
And
over the
Cubix is
wall.
getting basically burned to the ground. He's
Oh, the
definitely
infinite
dead
duress
here.
comes out. He is super, super dead. So is the Nami. The seafood will be, taken as part of the meal in the end there. And then the Nano, next to fall, he just has no way out. He's surrounded on all sides. Could not make it back into the base. And now a 5v2 with Baron and Mountain Soul. I'm thinking this could be the end of the game.
Yep, unless there's a miracle play that comes on out. Bag of
Oh,
almonds, you
Noshkren.
are
Oh, that was
empty.
nasty. That was so nasty. Really just getting his revenge for that game number 1. It really seems like maybe he took it a bit personally. And he is absolutely has turned things around here in the back half of tonight's matchup. It's going to be UW Stout. I think they were. Cubix going back in with the EQ, trying to make something happen with the Cataclysm there, but he just can't do it. Prism going to get cleaned up on the end here as well. It's number 5 for Noshkren on the Jhin. A little bit of a misplay there. I'm sure he actually wanted to end the game with 4 kills since he is, in fact, playing Jhin, but not really going to matter too much in the end as the Nexus does fall. And UW Stout pick up the 2-1 victory over a very close rival here in Week 4.
Yep, a great play from start to finish, even back in Champion Select from the side of UW Stout. Taking the Lux on Blue 2 was so critical. You knew what the game plan was. Everyone knew the game plan from the side of MGD. Caitlyn Lux bot lane. And you saw they first picked the Aatrox once again. So pick Caitlyn Lux on Red 1-2. Don't wait until you're 3-4 to be able to try to pick the Caitlyn, like the Lux or the Caitlyn, or like it just was kind of disaster by not, or they picked Syndra on pick 1.
Yeah.
If they picked Caitlyn Lux, I think they will win that bottom lane. Their goal was to win bottom lane. That's kind of how this team likes to play. And you didn't set yourself up with enough success in bottom lane because I'm not sure if they maybe didn't anticipate that they were going to take the Lux or take the Jhin Lux into it, but they just got rocked. And now, to be fair, you don't see Warwick a ton. You don't see Aatrox mid a ton. Those things, if you're not familiar with them, you don't remember what their damage does. Half the time, you're not even sure what all their abilities do, what their paths are, clear speeds, etc. So I can kind of write some of that stuff off. I don't like the blind pick Syndra when nothing else has really been shown. Because also, if you look at it, for all intents and purposes, back at this draft, Aatrox 1 for W Scout was a top lane pick. They decided to go with the mid lane pick later. Once they saw, oh, it's a Syndra. All right, we know it's a Syndra. Hey, dude, can you, Dewey, you know how to play Aatrox mid? Yeah, sure, bro. Let's just play the Aatrox mid. We'll take the Lux. And then you separate the Cait Lux combo. Because Caitlyn Lux is a hell of a lot more potent than Caitlyn Nami. And Jhin Lux, as you saw, you catch anything on that Nami, it's sushi. It's easy, free fishing. And you saw that time and time again. And I do have to shout out Jay-Z's pathing. This whole game was great. Great job mirroring, but that also was great setup by Ambush. I Am Ambush did a great job of roaming, of placing vision, and really just annoying all the other lanes, which just created these small micro advantages. So whenever fights came around, they were ahead summoner spells, they were ahead HP, they were ahead vision, they were ahead pressure at all points on these fights.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight is 2020, right, Knives? I do think we can look back at the draft to identify a lot of the issues that Dragonborn did run into over the course of this game. If we just take a look at Dewey here, Aatrox, not in his top 10 most played, but he does have some Aatrox games in the recent match history. So while it's not something, certainly not something that would have been easy to predict, it is something that, maybe they should have been keeping in mind. And while I do understand the the high priority rather on the Syndra pick, given how well Prism was able to perform on it in game number one, it was clearly something that it seemed like the side of UW Stout was afraid of, right? Given the fact that they banned it in game two when they were on red side. But ultimately, I do agree with you that the blind Syndra just doesn't really feel as strong, doesn't really do it for me. And yeah, the Lux definitely ended up being a massive difference maker, as you already highlighted. But yeah, I mean, I think there are any number of things really that we could look at, but ultimately we were treated to a really fantastic series tonight, Mr. Basket of Knives.
Oh, an absolute banger of a series. Great games, great, manipulations of things in draft, lots of fun. I mean, definitely now, like, hey, the Dewey Aatrox flex, it exists. Teams
Oh
have to
yeah,
now respect that.
you better believe
So,
whoever's going up against these guys next are gonna have to be keeping that in mind for sure.
yeah, we're well past MSI, but take notes, ladies and gentlemen. That's in your pocket, and I mean, to be fair, just ban it out. Aatrox is a very busted champion. Ban it.
Yeah,
Get rid of it.
if we're being real, yeah, it's an absolutely a ban worthy pick. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, just really well played by you, Wisconsin Stout. You know, they earned this win, no doubt in my mind. And they are going to build, as a result, a little bit of separation between themselves and MG Dragonborn, who were their closest competitor. You know, their UW Stout building on the momentum that they picked up from the match win that they were able to take just yesterday over another team that was ranked slightly above them in those power rankings. So just continuing to build on that momentum. And unfortunately for Dragonborn, it does seem like maybe they're faltering a little bit here. I mean, they came into that game one with such a great game plan. But in the end, they weren't able to get it across the finish line over the course of the night.
Yeah, a well fought and tough fought series. Great comeback from the side of UW Stout. They definitely had earned that victory across those 3 games. And, it's back to the drawing board a little bit with MGD. They got some work to do, but there's still 4 more weeks of this season before playoffs. 4 weeks in, 4 to go. Still some time, still some stuff to work on, but
And
you got to start working. You got to start really putting that time in and making some very clear changes to get yourself up in those standings.
I mean, we can clearly see that they have the potential, right? And Nano was playing a fantastic weak side. He just got blindsided a little bit by that Mordekaiser counter pick coming out from Travis. That did ended up punishing him pretty hard. But like they were playing around their bag of almonds really, really well. But yeah, in the end, they did just seem like they got outplayed a little bit. Do you have any final thoughts on tonight's matchup here, Knives? Who is your overall player, your most valuable player tonight from UW Stout? Who really brought it home for him?
Ooh. Overall player, I will have to give it to. Ooh. I'm liking what I saw out of. Ooh. I'm gonna have to go with mid. I thought
Okay. Yeah.
Dewey on the 2, so distinctly on the 2 wins, was absolutely phenomenal on playing the Akali.
The Akali
and
was
then
so massive.
and then playing a very niche pick. So just having the capacity to be able to play that pick in my book is great because you don't expect that pick. So I think the confidence to be able to say, all right, this guy's a great Cinder player. I'm going to play Aatrox mid, Comet Aatrox mid into Syndra. And we're going to see how it goes. And to win, like that just shows me that like you understand what your team needs and you understand how to play with your team and play with the draft to make the metagame of that draft that much more difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that to me earns him that accolade. I would have also gone. I would have liked to say anyone from the bot lane, but the game 1 was just so devastatingly kind of bad. It made it a little bit tougher, and a lot of their advantages bottom lane were found through the jungle. So, like, while they did play phenomenally and they did play admirably, I think the big difference was the flexibility of the mid lane and the diversity of their champ pool to be able to pull out the Akali, who's hard to execute on, and the Aatrox, who you don't really see mid. So I'm gonna go with Dewey.
I like it. I like it. I'll agree with you on the Dewey. I'm pretty sure Twitch chat agrees here as well. But definitely some strong performances across the board on both sides, right? And ultimately, if some little things had gone differently in either game 2 or game 3, we could have easily seen Malicious Gaming Dragonborn walking away with the victory tonight. But not going to be the case. It is University Wisconsin Stout that emerge victorious. Dewey diff indeed, chat. That's exactly right. But that is going to do it for us this evening. Let's take a quick look here at the upcoming schedule. It does look like we have another match scheduled for this Saturday. It's going to be Shinkari and Axemen doing a cast for the Grumpy Grumps and NGIT Highlanders. Should be another exciting matchup, guys. Make sure you tune in for that one. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time once again this Saturday, October 22nd. So make sure you join us here once again at Style Esports for that matchup. But from us tonight, from myself, from Knives, from the entire production team at Style Esports, thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate you. We had an absolute banger matchup tonight. It was an absolute treat for everybody involved. So thank you to the teams as well for a great match. And we will see you all next time. Good night.